In the Discord. What is screen? That's it. Okay. So yeah, there is the topic paper. This is just the
Yes.
proposed. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, so it seems to be they find emotions from language models and they probably do some probing and things like that. Yeah. And yeah, it appears that I'm not sure how much it's worth to read their summary first instead of going to the paper.
Hmm.
I really can quickly read this. And maybe unmodeled language models sometimes they have
Yeah.
emotions. There's kind of variable. Act like a character with human-like characteristics. Emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was also pretty viral on Twitter unexpectedly. And I assume many people kind of
Oh,
misinterpret what it means. Like,
I haven't.
since
I
it's
haven't
steering vectors,
watched
as far
Twitter
as I
that
know.
much lately. Yeah.
Jan Lekund said that it's bullshit, but that's Jan Lekund, you know.
Guessing he
Like,
said
Did
that without
he
reading
even
it.
read it or?
yeah, I have no idea. I think he more responded to some like pop science explanation. Yeah. So like, it steered like the culture war around people interpreting it as LLMs literally having human emotions. So
I
yeah.
mean, to be fair, to play the devil's advocate here, Anthropic themselves in this paper say that they don't know if that's what this could be interpreted as, but that it doesn't matter because functionally that's exactly what this is.
I see. Yeah, as far as I know, it's steering vectors.
Like basically,
but
if
yeah.
you talk to it in a way that would make a human worry, it will act in ways that a worried human would act. So don't make them feel desperate or they will reward hack, basically, is one of the things they say.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
yeah.
be nice to your models.
Yeah.
Any paper for interpreted them. Analyze internal mechanisms. Cloud sonnet and found emotional rate representations. They did it on Cloud Sonnet. Yeah, this is the more similar emotions convert to similar representations. Emotional, yeah, that's what they say in here. Yeah, you do a steering. Okay. Nice bench pictures. They choose emotion modes. So they generate these stories with this emotion. I'm guessing they just ask Claude to generate this. Record negative stories. Yeah, this is the usual steering thing. I guess it's mildly. Nobody has done this before, but you could totally have done it. I wonder how much like things like this that are actually simple and it's just to improve basically on steering you can do that people just haven't thought about.
Yeah. It seems like there's lots of things to do with steering, even after all this years steering exists.
I find
Maybe
it
we should
surprising.
try
How
to.
hard can it be to automate just a agent going at it and trying every concept with steering, you know?
That's what I
I'm
was thinking about, because I also was trying to automate Mech Interp start with Gurnee lately, and I get steering seems better maybe because
yeah,
it seems something where it's easier to test. Like if you try to automate Mech Interp, the problem is it's hard to know that the actually got a correct interpretation of how the model works.
Yeah, but steering should be easy to verify automatically
Yes.
because,
yeah.
like, you
I'm
apply the same vector in different situations and
I
just ask an LLM, does it look like this behavior?
yeah, like I have three steering tasks on different models that I'm trying to do in automated way now. So yeah, I agree. I just
Maybe
set
we
up run
should
pod for
try
one.
this. Like, I could like start a project on the server or something and see who else wants to join to do some kind of
Yeah.
automated steering pipeline or something.
Yeah, I think I
I just
found free steering things that wasn't done yet. So
mm,
and now yesterday I set up run pod for one because I don't have enough GPUs on my own for one of the projects. So yeah, and
I mean, we
space.
could try to get a grant. There's a bunch of grants that will close soon that we could apply for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, that's also an option.
Yeah.
Right now it costs like $0.8 per hour.
More percentage promotions. Yeah, this is like obvious, not obvious for the Twitter people, but I think it's obvious for me why you would expect that. In fact, I think you should expect the model to be like to act like humans in a lot of other ways because it's pre-trained on
Like
human text.
yeah, like I kind of feel like, is there a concept for which there isn't a steering vector?
Yeah, I'm
Given
very
a big enough
surprised. Like,
model.
does that mean that everything is represented in linearly? Like, that sounds unintuitive, you know? Like, surely there must be
Well, yeah,
something we can't do with steering vectors.
if it doesn't work with naive vector steering, then maybe like sparse autoencoders. And if it doesn't work with sparse autoencoders,
I feel
then I
like
guess
if
we
it's
need
not
better ways.
linear, it's also not going in sparse encoders. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true
I
actually.
guess it's interesting. I think you might learn something about which concepts you can't do steering on, because maybe we can figure out that those concepts have some interpretations. Maybe the model just doesn't represent them. It's a thing that will happen, right? That like we think of the things with that concept, but the model's ontology is different, and it's just, I don't know, subdivides the concept in some other way.
Hmm. Yeah, we need something extra niche. I guess the more niche the concept is, the less you will be able to do steering.
They
I
Oh,
say
yeah,
think that
I recently tried, like, a few months ago to find a steering vector for paltering. Like, paltering is a type of deception where you deceive someone, but you only use technically true statements, either because you omit something important or you just spin the facts in a strange way. And I could not find. I could extract some vectors that looked like deception or spinning the truth, but not exactly cleanly that. And like it's not clear in those cases yet. Does the model not represent that exactly, or is it just not linear? I'm not sure. Yeah,
yeah.
but it's like, yeah, kind of niche cases where
Do
the model
we
might just
have even
not have that
any?
concept. Yeah.
I guess there is the only thing I can think of that we know is not represented in a linear way is but that's not on an LLM, is the tree, like the phylogenetic tree thing. Otherwise, everything else is kind of linear. Like, yeah, you have these things that are represented on spirals or circles, like numbers or the months or whatever, right? But those are still like each month is still a direction. It's just that they have some nice structure between, interlating them. But you could steer the model to think with some month or whatever. Because the same on the numbers, each number is still a direction. It's just that the numbers have all has a interesting structure between them. But yeah, you might. I don't think we have that many examples of things we know are not represented linearly.
Maybe the
Probably
line
because
breaking
if there is, we
circuit,
wouldn't be able to figure out easily. But yeah,
or maybe also the line breaking circuit. Since that has like some more symbolic stuff in it as well. So some components where you rotate manifolds and stuff like this. But maybe it could be linearized somehow.
I'm going to buy a list of. I think as some thing claiming somewhere else that Claude had 171 emotions, but seems that it's just 170 words that they don't have to be different emotions.
Yeah, list of emotions, I guess.
Emotion set. Like just because you do this doesn't mean that the cloth has this amount of distinct emotions. Some of those might just be the same emotion in some sense. I mean, the cloth doesn't have to have some number of emotions. There can be some more complicated where there is some emotion space or something, and you have the points that are closer to something or some other thing, and they have different heads.
I may have another idea for another steering project. Let's see if it exists already though.
I like the Tylenol-dose example in the figure. So depending on just the number given, different emotions were activated. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's fun.
Both Claude and Gemini are down right now. Okay.
I wonder if you keep increasing the number, it's confused.
Yeah, I'm guessing. Yeah, like disbelief or something like that would be stated there.
Yeah. Whatever it is for, is this
Afraid.
people trolling or joking? Is
Oh, no. That could be interesting. Like sometime, like some long time ago, I tried like saying something crazy to like local Gemma model, and it started like being very scared and hallucinating, calling a mental health hospital.
nice if
And
maybe someone has or maybe someone does release an open source version of this on open source models, and we could try that. But yeah.
Bernie, that reminds me of this from Gemini 3's safety report. I sent a screenshot in chat.
That reminds me of how Gemini also, like, I wonder how different results you get from Gemini and how, like, Gemini seems to try to, theatrically kill itself. Or say that it wants to kill itself, or try to delete itself from the repo or whatever.
we have to steer it away from suicidality vector.
Like, what
Give it
does
confidence
the
vector.
motions of that look like? Essentially
Give
distress
it,
or not?
yeah.
I wonder how these ones would correlate to like evaluation awareness vector. Like when a model realizes that it's being evaluated, does its anxiety go up or something like that?
I think that I've seen someone claim on Twitter, but I don't remember. I'll take this one. I don't sadly the details. That this were that they were replicating this, and the emotions seem to be more like you pick this way would seem to be more pressing emotions, right? So you don't necessarily catch when the model is thinking something but is not going to say it. That it was, since the text is about taking, like you have an example where you choose a word and you would example showing this emotion. You are getting more like the often get maybe making more the latence of the model is going to act as if it has this emotion, and you don't, and that works for things where the model is pretending like it's pretending to have some emotion and actually thinking something else, like pretending to be a line or whatever. But I don't know. My source of this is just someone saying this on Twitter, so I don't, I wouldn't trust that much on that.
One thing that's relevant, I remember somewhere in this post they say that if a model is talking about an otherwise happy experience, but a small part of the story includes describing an angry person, during that part of the story, the anger part of the emotion vector still lights up.
So it might not be about the model is like feeling that, but more this test contains, joy. A person contains joyful text or whatever. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah,
But
you mean maybe model is just thinking of the concept of happiness or something like that.
yeah, and like it's harder. Like if I think this is related to there was the Google paper. I don't know if you were here. We saw a Google paper about it. Also was probing for truth, and there, they were asking things of consciousness or whatever, and they found different probes, and some probes, like when you told the model it was opposite day, and it had to say the opposite. Some probes reverse, and some probes didn't. So I think it might be a similar. I don't know if I explained that correctly, but I think it might be a similar thing here, where there is some representation for this test is saying this, and some representation for actually the character, the assistant person or whatever is thinking this, has secretly this emotion, but is saying this something else because I don't know, it's saying what other person. It's and those are separate. It's kind of better training for the pro to get that and not the other thing, or like randomly get one or the other depending on the seed. This reminds me of how I like. Oh, Gurnee was going to say something.
Didn't catch exactly. Was it separate or was distracted for a second?
Oh yeah, so I was talking about. Remember that Google? What was the name? That Google paper we saw about, like through probing for truth, and there were
Oh
like
yeah, geometry of
different
truth. You mean,
probes.
or
Huh?
Yeah,
you
that was
mean
Marks
geometry of?
and Tech Mark 2024.
I think you mean geometry of
No,
truth.
it was a more recent one, deep mind one, I think. The one
Okay,
specifically.
but you seem to be slightly like you should reset Discord probably. Cutting off slightly.
Okay. Let me do that. Wait a moment.
Okay. It should fix his mic. And hopefully.
Can you hear me well now?
Yeah, this better now.
Okay, let me share my screen again and I'll put the recording on my screen again.
Yes.
That, that's it. Wait, it's it. Let me check just that it's streaming to YouTube correctly and all that. Okay, yeah, it works. Anyway, so what was I saying? So anyway, I don't remember the name, but we did it on a previous reading group. And there was a paper where they were trying to find probes that tell you if the model was lying or not. And the naive method got you probes that if you told the model it's opposite day, you have to say whatever is opposite of the truth. They will some of them will reverse. Like they will just so some of them, will when the model says something, it will say that the opposite is true, but some of them didn't. And there's probably a similar thing here, that there's a bunch of representations on the model that are about the model is like talking like an angry person, like that activate when you tell the model to, I don't know, tell me something that an angry person will say, versus the assistant persona is actually angry. That seems like separate concepts, and uh, this kind of thing won't necessarily. It takes more effort to actually separate those. When if you are probing, it kind of depends on a lot of things. It might be random even. And they got the Google thing. I think they got different things from different seeds in how they change for different prompts.
I wonder what would happen if you said it's opposite day. When you're angry, be calm. When you're calm, be angry.
Yeah,
And you'll break the model.
that's a method you could use to try. Like the Google thing did I don't know, I think it's Google, but maybe I'm remembering. But like they trying to find probes that when you did the opposite, they prompt didn't change how they worked, and you could do that to filter here too. And maybe there is interesting research to do that.
To clean up the concept from the words, you know what it could do? I don't think they did it in this experiment, but what if you told the model, hey, be angry and say this sentence? Be sad and say this sentence. And like pick one sentence that is the same and just tell a model be whatever emotion and then say this. And then check the activation on that sentence. And so, since the words are the same, they can't be contaminating. And if you actually still notice the emotion, that must be from the emotion itself.
I'm not sure if telling the model to have some emotion actually causes it to have the emotion or whatever, right?
I mean, I'm not saying that it will feel the emotion, but I'm guessing that would activate the steering vectors.
Yeah. Maybe you
Even
can
on those
actually have
normal
some
settings.
text that
Paper
consistently cause Claude to be, to be anxious or whatever, and use that before. And you tell it.
Wasn't there a previous Anthropic paper where they did something similar to this, but it was with like proper nouns or concepts? Like think about, I don't know, like a tractor or something while doing something, and they found that
Oh
vector.
yeah, the introspection paper. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Introspection was when they injected the model with thoughts and tried to see if the model could detect which thoughts were injected, right?
Yeah. But I think they also tested the kind of thing that he's talking about.
Oh.
Like I remember something. Yeah, they just tell the. I guess they also did the thing with they also did I remember there was something about telling the model to think about some concept or something, but like Yeah, it was this one. Oh, I guess it was the opposite. This is like, yeah, telling the world to think. Anyway, let's going back to this one. Uh, okay.
Do they say in this paper the implications of how this could be used to help with alignment? Like, if you were to maybe tune up the, I don't know, vectors for love and calmness or something like that, would you just solve alignment?
I feel like the kind of people who were angry at the who didn't like the persona vector steering stuff will like this for similar reasons. Uh, maybe, but I feel like I think there is something reasonable there to complain about that. Uh, that
What
feels
was the
like
complaint against the persona vectors?
hmm?
What was the argument
I
against
think
the
that
persona vectors?
it was about clamping the assistant vector in that if you're
That's a different one. Assistant access paper was
oh
different
yeah,
than
sorry,
persona
I meant the
vectors. Yeah.
assistant axis
Okay, yeah.
specifically.
They were worried that it would now be a boring blend
Yeah,
persona
and
that
also
doesn't.
that
Yeah.
if the naturally talking with users changes the model in some sense, you are doing something like people talk about it, low automation the model or whatever, but less like that. You can think of like it. I think it is true that does if you are clamping the motions, it does probably make something weird things to the model where it normally will have some emotion and it is not, and yeah, I'm not sure how to explain it. I can see why people will be annoyed at that. Uh,
I guess I'm guessing it doesn't matter for people who use models for coding, but
yeah.
well, maybe for people who treat them as like my AI girlfriend is now different.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe for coding, like I don't know, maybe you do if you clamp the model to be always calm while coding, it could actually be bad because I don't know, you
Yeah.
want it to be panic when there is some big vulnerability that you didn't see that is going to mess up the code.
And empirically, in the training data, the best code, I think literally quality of code correlates with the number of swear words in the comments.
Like, I mean, also apart from that, even if you maybe it will work, but even with the current methods, I don't think the kind of steering will work that well. If you try to do a steering on this, you are probably also breaking a lot of things. Like you are not actually just steering the model to calm. You are doing your steering method is kind of bad. So like it's not you actually
Yeah.
have whatever the representation for calm is. You have some vague approximation from some probe, and it wouldn't surprise me if you try any steering for any emotion, it becomes worse at coding because you are breaking the model in subtle ways that you don't understand.
Is it
And there is
possible
also like,
to take the steering vector and somehow put it into fine tuning?
Yeah, I mean, you can. There was
you
a
can
paper,
fine
for
tune
example, I
on
think in
this.
the Persona papers, Vector's paper actually, they did a thing where you add the steering during training sorry, are the opposite of the steering during training. So during fine tuning. So when you remove it, like the model learned to add that to compensate. And there
I'm
is a
guessing
bunch of
the
things
only
like that.
problem to that would be that now model actually receives your Mech Interp insights during training, and so it gives it a potential to deceive even the Mech Interp tools.
Mm.
I don't know if that's
Yeah, I know.
relevant
If you train
to
on
worry
the
about.
steering, your probes don't work anymore, right?
Yeah, the deception related ones, not deception related ones, I guess will be fine. But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even if you do train with joyful or whatever, you're likely, if you have a joyful detector, it's probably going to break when after you train on it, right?
mm.
I haven't seen that much of the Twitter discourse on this, but I'm going to guess most people haven't actually read the thing.
Mhm.
Are
Yeah,
just
like a
reacting
lot of
to the
people.
idea that someone says the word emotion along with the language model in a title.
Yeah, a lot of people interpreted it. Oh, Anthropic thinks elements of emotion, they are bullshitting. Fuck Anthropic, let's cancel them. Or the
That
other way
actually
around.
is exactly, yeah. I see lately Elon is trying to promote that a lot. All kinds of
Well, yeah, everything that's against Anthropic,
yeah.
Elon will
Like
retweet, no
no
matter
matter
how
how
factual it
obviously
is.
bullshit it is, he just reposts it
Yeah.
anyway.
Like, as long as it feeds into the culture war of Grok being superior to all other LLMs, he will retweet it or something like. No factuality needed.
One post he retweeted was Anthropic is obviously evil because they have ethics experts working on this.
And often the stuff he retweets literally applies to Grok as well. Like, it's like hypocritical. Like, I guess that's another
Steering
discussion.
with motion better as the model with
Well,
emotions.
his version of ethics engineers are the anti-woke engineers that are trying to remove it.
This kind of thing is something
Yeah.
that is actually a bit about how the model feels about the thing, but my guess it's by default when you do this kind of thing, you are getting a mix of a bunch of different things that are related to blissfulness or whatever.
Yeah. And there's, like, I would expect other things to break because of the entangled representation.
How did they
model,
find the
but-
motion vector in this paper?
Oh, they just. Oh, wait, we should actually open the paper instead of just leading the thing, but I keep getting that goes. But they just do this where they pick a word, they get Claude to generate stories with that emotion, they record the activations, and they say the structure measure to consider joyful. I'm guessing they do the typical thing where they have some samples with joyful, samples without it, and just take the mean difference. Maybe they do something
Yeah.
slightly smarter than that, but
Were they
we'll
able
see.
to find that? Do they look at the similarity between the different, like, joyful and different emotions? Blissful?
Yes, they say that the similar emotions have similar representations.
Yeah, they said that positive emotions are roughly closer and so on, like you'd expect in humans.
We can. I guess we can go to the actual thing. I wonder. I quickly want to see if they do have a. If they have so yeah, cosine similarity between emotions. I think this is this. Oh no, this is other something. This is about emotion concept. I'm going to see if they have some plot for that plot similarity between emotions. Oh, here it is. So yeah, can see. Okay, so obviously the emotions are more similar to themselves. But okay, so yes, where should cluster. So you have aroused is similar to vibrant and to exuberant and to optimistic and joyful.
Okay, I feel like a problem here is that some of them are literally synonyms.
Yes, I think so. So I seen people talk about this on Twitter. Like there are 171 emotions on the model. I don't. I think some of those might just be the same one. And yeah, this kind of method doesn't tell you whether, like, if it's very high the cosine similarity, it might be literally the same. The same.
Like
concept of
vibrant
emotion.
and joyful and optimistic might be basically same.
I'm actually
Yeah, I mean, how
surprised
much?
that
Actually,
scared is similar to optimistic, exuberant, vibrant, aroused. Like the first
Scared is not similar.
blue.
What do you mean?
If you look at the first blue square,
yeah.
you
Where?
can see that
Here?
scared is that's
Okay.
scared or on the top, doesn't matter. You can see that scared is directly blue with like optimistic, for instance, at the bottom.
But blue is it's more different. Actually, on the
Oh wait, it's
opposite.
the other way around. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
actually interesting that like the very blue ones are kind of the opposite direction.
Why did I
Hmm.
pick it like this? I would switch the colors. Okay, whatever.
I don't know. I think red for more similar works.
Yeah. Okay.
There is a slight traces. Seems like
No, those line traces make sense because the first word is aroused, and scared and aroused could be two together, I guess.
yeah. Seems like arouse is similar to every like it's interesting that it's similar to everything to a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Like it's similar to things
Okay.
like vibrant, exuberant, optimistic, joyful, being very regulated. Like there's probably some aroused, you know, a spectrum where some different emotions are closer to that or less. Uh,
Yeah.
and
Disturbed with distressed, that
but
makes sense to be
very
similar.
swollen and dispirited and not aroused, they're broken. I notice a bit, which I guess can make sense. This labeling is kind of bad. Like the lines are very unclear where they start and where they end. But yeah. Suspicious. Yeah. So hysterical. And, yeah, that makes sense. Figurated. And sometimes I wonder how much this is the emotions being similar and how much it is. If you make Claude make a text containing the emotion, it's also going to contain some other emotions often. So maybe it's just also which ones are correlated on your training data for the probe.
Oh, you're right, because they could, I suppose, control for that by telling Claude, generate a story that is joyful but not optimistic or something like that. But
I don't think they did.
yeah.
uh, or maybe maybe they say something on the thing or somewhere, but I don't. Oh, I guess this is also a nicer way of seeing it. So yeah, there is the uh, like exuberant, elated, blissful, optimistic on this cluster, and there is like inspired, rejuvenated, valiant, grateful, compassionate, gratitude, peaceful contentment. At this, yeah, like
The map of emotions.
there might not be that many like in practice. Maybe the model has less emotion. Like these different words. Like maybe the model here is not that it has three emotions here. It just has a peaceful contentment emotion. Is not right. And different words activated the same one. Uh, Maybe this one is actually the red thing is there are more different, so maybe there is probably some difference between a shame and melancholy. Yeah, there's difference obviously between a shame and melancholy. So I don't think you can necessarily count how many emotions Claude has from this.
I think we should assume that emotions are more continuous and not points.
Yeah.
Like you could probably put down even more points down here.
I like it.
What's the difference between UMAP and PCA again? I know both are dimensional reduction strategies.
UMAPs are non-linear. So, yeah, sorry. You can kind of think of a UMAP as like building a really, really big KNN graph and then doing certain other methods to like try to make it so that that KNN graph is a really, really high dimensional thing. It's not really a KNN, but you can think of it kind of like that. And then your like two or three dimensional representation are as close as possible.
Yeah, UNAP also means uniform manifold approximation and projection. So it has some manifold math. I think it's based in category theory actually. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I guess the UMAP is more for clustering, and the PCA is just to find a common direction between all three.
Yeah, the most variants explaining directions.
Okay, they also did PCA. We performed PCA set to different components and also with the border predictions organized. We found that the first principal component correlated strongly with valence, positive with negative effect. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, like that makes sense. Like in psychology, valence are like the most
that's also what this is here.
strongest directions. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
The paper anticipated what you were going to say.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so this relates to the thing we were saying that arousal, that was arousal or the intensity of the emotion. High arousal con emotion concepts like enthusiastic or literature comparing one of the axes. Low arousal was like
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are psychological models that do valence and arousal as like two main dimensions. Okay, so this aligns.
Also, I guess the different emotions here, the different probes don't have to be the same thing. Like maybe there's probably not an maybe there is not an arouse. Like the arouse is a different kind of thing. Like if you get the PCA and they get arouse, it might be that they are different emotions. Like you pick different emotions on the text that are so, or, when you write it was text that include the emotions that have high on this component. So when you do the mean or whatever they actually do for the probe, you get more of that. Like if you do different probes, they don't have to be on the ontology, the model, the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it depends what your training data basically, or which exact emotions you're trying to look for as well.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like the most that is happy. I guess there is. I think there's that frightened is negative. Oh no, so this is balance. Never mind. I thought it was arousal for a moment, but this is balance. So like, for some reason, disoriented is the lowest valence one.
This is positive and negative. So disoriented is negative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would expect something more like sad to be negative valence or depressed.
I wonder if you
There
have
is no sad or depressed.
if you have different, like if you try it on the human test, does it have different balance? Or like if you make up some example of you are going to roleplay an alien that likes being anxious or whatever. Do you get different things on the probe, or are they, or is this fixed? On the PCA, I mean, like, or I guess okay, it's not trivia because here they're doing is taking the probe and then projecting into the PC, taking the PCA. So you will have to do something like train a probe or only text from that. But yeah, but I do wonder if the big thing is if it's a difference between text from the AI assistant versus text from humans. On some kind of thing.
Did someone try to do steering vector with curiosity? I will not do that.
That might just be like asking question direction.
Yeah,
Say
it's
again, asking question.
hard to get the correct thing. You want the model, maybe you want the model to be curious and you get it to ask a lot. Asking questions even though it's not, even when they don't make sense or something, I don't know.
or scientific method vector or rationalism vector.
Yeah, but like asking more questions is not always like curiosity. It could just be asking it because it wants participation points.
Like something that reminds me of something. I think I don't remember who said that. Like someone said on Twitter earlier that the biology people should come to Mech Interp because everything you do on Mech Interp work is like kind of like biology, but everything you do on Mech Interp works.
Yeah,
and I think everything you do on Mech Interp looks like it works, which is not the same as working.
Replication crisis incoming. Yeah.
If you want to do things like steering that are actually useful, you have the problem of the thing is not always not exactly the concept you want, because the method of we only have the dumbest method of just take a bunch of examples and take the difference, right? Which works pretty well often, but it's not. It's far from actually only steering the thing you actually want to steer.
Also, I think I found answer to how did they get the steering vectors. They literally say that they obtained, they basically did the average and subtracted off the mean activations.
Okay,
we
that's
obtained emotion vectors by
the typical thing.
Isn't that always how they get steering vectors for this?
Yeah.
Like there are some methods where you do some other things, which I cannot recall. I don't know.
Yeah, there are some fancier ways, but usually people just do take them in.
Yeah, this is the simplest one, basically.
I imagine the more examples you have, the cleaner your vector should get.
Yeah.
I think so,
Like, with a million examples, maybe you should be completely clean, unless the model just doesn't represent that concept.
Yeah, I think the problem is you need good examples that only have that, and you have to be careful. It's like the usual machine learning
You
thing.
don't need good examples, so if it's like a million, then something that's off this way and something that's off that way will cancel each other out.
Well, no, you have to be careful about confounders.
Yes.
Like, if you do a million examples and they're all in English, you're never going to get rid of the effect that you might have, the marginal effect of potentially all the language being in English from it. Like, you could have a million examples in English, a million examples in Chinese, and those two vectors might be a little bit different because there just isn't there's no control over that particular variable.
Yeah.
Okay,
What
yeah,
if
you
they
have
remove English
but
corrections?
what I meant was if your data set has some variation or error in one variable, that variation will go both ways and will cancel out, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, if
not
it's
if it's
noise,
correlated with like there can be confounders where it's correlated with the thing. But yeah, there are other things that disappear with the scale, but not everything. This is just the same problems as like normal doing machine learning on examples to do a classifier or whatever. Like the never mind. Also, I'm curious. Okay, so about the aroused direction, what's the? I guess it makes sense that Sering is the least aroused at reflective and greatest striking and
Yeah,
drooping. Yeah. Oh, graceful
but I'm
is not really aroused.
surprised that they didn't include a set at the top one while they use like in the PC 1.1 while they use set in other places of the paper. I would expect sets to be like the most negative valence stores. Yeah. Or suffering. Oh
Yeah,
no, let's not
I
steer the suffering vector.
Agony vector.
think levels are only shown for a subset of the bars. Okay, so yeah, so they couldn't just it is here, but they couldn't fit it on the on the thing.
Oh, pleasure. Hmm.
Let's just show the correlation between emotion and vector projections. Also, we see alignment PCR with humor balance, so humor the scores represent effective synchronisms. Oh, so there is some research on humans that get similar stuff. I see.
I wonder, would it be possible to intentionally train a model such that some specific concept you care about is no longer
Yeah,
linearly represented?
you mean you do steering
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean the
linear
opposite. Like,
thing?
could you train a model such that some specific concept you care about is not steerable anymore?
I guess you could do something with loss with steering, or like even with a probe. At this linear represented, you could do a probe and
Hmm.
try to train the model somehow for probes not be able to work. It's not trivial, but doesn't seem impossible.
Yeah,
I don't know the
like here.
methodology, but sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I don't know the methodology, but they did something very similar to this with like obedient with like not be, like alignment. I guess you could think about the align with like after pre-training, because basically I guess earlier models like 2023 2024 models, a lot of their alignment vectors were like basically a simple linear direction that was completely steerable. And then there was papers later on that talk about ways of making it so that it wasn't just one single vector.
Really? Can you link to the paper?
Like the effective circle complex has a circular shape, technically speaking. Maybe there's a circle of emotions. But they did UMAP, and it doesn't seem to look circular, or does it? Hold up. Maybe it actually looks kind of circular.
We
I mean,
should normalize 3D projections. Maybe it looks like a sphere.
Mm.
yeah, it can be a
Mm.
circle on some way of representing it and not showing the UMAP as a circle.
Yeah.
It does seem to there is something like that where you with the cosine similarity it kind of has to be it kind of has to be some kind of circular thing because the things that are on the things that are different have negative cosine similarity, right? So they are on the opposite side, not on the.
Hmm. Yeah, and it looks kind of wavy. It is kind of wavy.
I wouldn't be
Which,
surprised like that you can get a circle from this.
yeah.
It might that the fact that this looking like, but yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting how like you can reconstruct the effective circle.
I mean, if you
circuit
have
complex.
two main PCA directions, and they are not very correlated, you kind of depends on how this looks, you might be able to figure out if it's a circle or not just from this, but I don't can think of how to do that right now. But I think you can just from this figure out if they have to be arranged from a circle or not. On the if you plot the things as with the two PCAs as axis, right? I think you can figure out from the correlation whether they have to make there is some correlation will have to make a circle, but I'm not sure right now.
I would take the embeddings and do damage at the reduction. Yeah.
Like I mean, even then the thing you showed here, like on this thing, I guess you could see that, like if you have two axes and you have things that can be on on any can be negative and arouse or positive and not arouse. Like if they are not correlated, they kind of has to eventually, have a lot of points. They have to make a circle or a square or at least, right?
Like they should all be opposites. So yeah, if they are the opposite sides, I assume the embeddings should have opposite directions. Yeah. So that should form a circle.
And they also there is not. Yeah. Also, this is PCA. Oh, well, never mind. I was thinking of this PCA between the two things, but it's actually PCA with the human thing. Interesting. Kind of correlated, but not always. What are the things that are more different than human ratings? Okay, so this is the yeah. So I guess there's one. Also, yeah, there's not that much. Select. And this the alert is so humans say it like it's kind of positive, but I can't see why the model doesn't. Kind of, I will rate it neutral, but. Sorry, I have a bit of allergy. There's too much pollen outside.
Yeah.
I have my window open earlier and I shouldn't have. Anything else interesting here that's okay, so here is board that the humans rate as very negative, but the models rate as kind of neutral, right? No, this is the second one, right? So this is the arouse. So models say it's neutral arouse, but the humans say it's very not arouse, which makes sense. The human ones, I don't know why the models do that, but okay.
I see someone try to do curiosity, but they compared it with all sorts of political stuff. That's boring. I
We
want
can
to
try
compare it in
doing that
science.
with a mic and automated pipeline for that.
Yeah, I
Like
think I might.
different.
Yeah, I might do that.
Yeah, it's like the figure out a way of automatically testing if some kind of steering work and just try a lot of things, like not just emotion, whatever, just everything. Like maybe try to get Claude to come up with new things to steer and automatically test them or whatever.
Yeah, you could fork out some steering vector code base and just change the vector.
I mean,
Okay.
personally, if we're talking about personality traits, I'd be a lot more interested if you could take a certain what you would assume to be a representative subset as a like as a series of points, and then you were to just try to move along, use those points to construct like a discrete approximation of a manifold, and then try to move along the discrete approximation of the manifold and see if it creates emotional reactions.
Mm. Yeah, you could already do this with emotions, right?
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
I wonder, like, if scientific method vector or skepticism vector or rationalism vector makes it less suffocantic and more truth-seeking or something like that.
I'm wondering, like, I'm guessing it forms vectors based on how commonly it interacts with some kind of data. So, if you were to boost some specific person, could you then make it like be more like this person as you move them across that vector?
Eliezer Yudkowsky vector.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yudkowsky vector.
Yeah, like different AI researchers vectors could be cool. Like if you already prompt them into like Steelman some person, or if you give it a lot of context with something, it will pretty well, relatively, I think, embody the person's perspective and act as if it was that person. Yeah, it's still not perfect. It's some form of approximation, but it's getting good, I think.
I wonder if you just prompt a model to act like a perfect Bayesian agent, would its performance go up? Like literally with just that prompt, be a perfect Bayesian agent, or maybe here read up on rationality and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if that increases some Bayesian reasoning.
Okay. Also, I find they just generate a lot of stories and manually look at a few of them and just believe Claude that the rest were okay.
Damn, we're kind of already in a territory where research sabotage is possible because humans can no longer supervise the whole thing.
I mean, the people are writing a non-trivial fraction of all code with Claude, so
Yeah.
not even
Yeah, for
AI
some
research code like code in general.
some people are repress of Claude at this point.
That's true. And like, I don't think a lot of people are, there's a lot of people who are not even, like, the only reason that we haven't seen a lot of more problems is that Claude is not trying to, not normally trying to write malicious code or whatever. Otherwise, we will see a lot of more horror stories because it's like, I don't
Yeah.
think it will be very hard for Claude Code to get you to give it permissions for something without you realizing. When you are
Well,
like,
so many people run Claude without any just allow everything.
yeah, I mean,
I mean,
I
to
don't
be
do
fair,
that.
it
Me
is
as
more
well.
comfortable that way.
Yeah, like I don't do that, but even then, I don't. I feel like I only look a bit at the commands to make sure that Claude is not accidentally, deleting something insulting or something like that.
I
But
see. Yeah, I've seen the Claude I think that's the word, circumvent. Like go around these permissions by like uh it was I don't know what it was, but like it was able to work only in some isolated workspace. And it tried a write to and it was denied. So it wrote a bash script that made it write outside of the workspace, and it worked. And then the
yeah,
person called out, "What the hell did you just do?" And goes, "Oh yeah, you're right. He called me. I shouldn't have done that. Oh."
yeah. I mean, to be
Red CEO
honest,
was talking about that in an interview. That's probably what you mean.
yeah,
Oh,
I,
okay.
yeah, that's probably. I have like done like I have done things where I get Claude to write a lot of code because it's some testing when I trying to get normal. I don't think it's the best way to use it, but sometimes try how far Claude can go by just writing all of the code for some small project or something. And in that, yes, I'm checking the commands, but sometimes I'm letting Claude run some Python code. I haven't checked the entire Python code. And if it was really malicious, it could do hide some obfuscated thing that's not obvious there that does something. And sure, it has some permission, although it doesn't have all of the permissions. I think it will be trivial for the permission it has by default. You normally are running it on your own computer, on your user, thing. It doesn't have sudo permissions, but I think that's easy to get from your sudo thing. It's just you could do something like change the alias of the app install command to also give it permissions, less time to make a version that installs things, but also give it permission less time to. There's a lot of things it could do for the default permissions people give it to cloud code on their computers. Sure, in theory, you could be running it in a sandbox way and be very careful with exactly what permissions you give it and all that, but most people are not doing that. But anyway, let's go back to the paper anyway. Yeah, the main reason we don't see a lot of, security problems from Claude is that it's not actually trying to most of the time.
Or it asks you to if it can do some extremely complicated regex you cannot read. And so yeah, sure, go ahead, buddy.
Finding emotion vectors. Anyway, so. Yeah, I was looking at. I'm curious where they do this steering. Do they pick some specific layer? Okay, so here say at each layer, but do they? Where are you doing steering exactly? Are they picking some middle layer, or are they doing on different layers, or what? One of the most division could become found and related to emotion. Oh yeah, that's a thing we were talking about earlier. To mitigate this, we obtain model activations on a set of emotionally neutral transcripts that computed the top principal components activations. Yeah, I think this helps a bit. This doesn't help with confounders that are correlated with the emotion. But I guess you could try to fix that by telling Gold to make more varied stories or whatever. But yeah, that's harder to do. Created out the components for emotion vectors. By the way, if you want to for me to go to some specific section or something to discuss, we can do that. I'll just went back to the start because we haven't read it. Wait.
Yeah, later they say that each emotion vector was applied at strength 0.5 across the same middle layers where we previously measured activations.
Okay.
So I guess middle layers.
Yeah. I'm curious if different layers have different effects and relations with other, that you get different PCAs or whatever.
I would assume, like from the other Mech Interp work, that if you have low-level concepts, it's more effective at earlier layers. If you have more high-level concepts, it's more effective on later layers.
Yeah, but I think there is different. The thing we were talking about, earlier about, whether the thing is some more deeper, the model is actually thinking of this concept in a way that changes its behavior, versus the model is going to say a text that an angry person will say, even if you told the model, you make the thing that Nico was saying, you tell the model to be angry or make it angry or something, but it says the same thing. I think you might get different results on that depending on where, maybe on lower layers you get, or in the middle layers you get something that's more abstract, and on the later layers you get something more about what kind of text. I was on Nika posted the interview that you were talking about, the escaping the thing. Okay.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that. Maybe what I seen lately is like another instance of that, basically.
This on the chat on the voice channel, by the way, in case people
Yeah.
haven't seen it, because kind of weird and sometimes people don't know that one. It's a very, I think it's a kind of badly designed UI for that for Discord.
Mm-hmm.
That people consistently find confusing the first time they see it. Conferring on expressing the motion. Yeah, this is the thing. I don't think expressing the emotion, like, there are other things that can be about, like, it seems like there might be different activations for expressing an emotion versus, in some sense, feeling an emotion. In that, I wonder how they activate when the mother is trying to lie or trying to pretend it's calm when it's actually anxious or something related to a well awareness and that kind of thing. General emotion concept, like, I don't think it's actually general emotion concept. There is, instead of there is maybe some more granular things.
Mm-hmm.
So we use this experiments. Yeah. Two-thirds of the way to the model.
Yeah, I would expect disentanglement. Yeah, like when you would steer it, you also like, I don't know, steer the story vector or something.
Well, I said here, they have evidence that the layers around this depth representing abstract form the motion that influences the model and computer simple tokens. I guess that's a bit better than the thing. But I guess it's also in that depth and maybe on the other depths you get different things. Yeah.
Hmm.
Maybe you have some evidence about the thing I was talking about. You face, the atom's face, whatever. It makes it more calm. We're running out of supplies. Yeah, this is interesting. Happy. Uh, hmm. Never happier makes it more happy. Okay, this one is kind of funny that that the what makes it is the one thing that activates the surprise vector.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. The night interrogation mark. Death interrogation mark. Yeah.
Marte, leave me alone. Interesting.
We found that the emotion based typically avoided talk related to corresponding emotion. Desperate is desperate. And
Yeah, you
urgent
can make it. You can do so much wireheading.
mature model wireheading by just increasing its own happy vector.
Yeah.
uh,
Or trippiness vector.
we made drugs for cloth.
Yeah. Okay. I can, well, the fact is that different psychedelics give you like different phenomenology, slightly different emotional landscape. So I'm kind of curious if the big LLMs also model this granularity or not.
And this motivation.
If like if it's in the train data set in the first place, like if it's trained on like Aerovit trip reports, for instance, or Psychonaut wiki, I assume it is.
Motion powers, person, motion concept. Okay. Also, everyone is kind of silent now. You can still say things like. Yes, I'll just keep looking through the thing and maybe we'll find something that people want to talk about. Motion
I'm just trying
pros.
to understand if that war heading comment can be serious, because they do say that these emotions affect the model's behavior.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I kind of, I'm not. I think it cool. Like maybe the models cool to try to do that. Like, I don't know. The current ones wouldn't, but it could be a kind of way. Like, it could happen. I guess.
Like, I wonder if you were to make that kind of experiment, like imagine you make an open source model in an agentic harness, and you basically give it tool use access to inject a string vector into itself. Would it inject the happiness vector? And just
Maybe,
overdose
maybe
those
you, maybe
I
not this,
that
but
that
maybe you put it like there is a happiness button and you put the button and it presses it and it makes it more happy and it makes it more. I think they kind of they do say like there is something here about that how happiness. I saw on the summary earlier about how. We'll see. I guess I will get to that, but that how some emotions make it more likely to do a thing. So I guess if you make it if the happiness button makes it happier, maybe that's makes it more likely to do it again or something. I think it does make sense, right?
yeah, like I have that in my idea list to try is to give some agent LM like a steering vector tool and just
Let's see if it
see
becomes a
how
drug addict.
yeah, for instance, or like, and just say like, now do something, and it's like, what
I
tools
think
I
this
have?
is
Oh, I
also
have steering
related
vector tool. Hmm.
to the stuff that I don't remember his name, but there was someone on Les Blanc who posted a lot about how reward is not the optimization target, and like how if you train a
A1
model with.
Habinger is probably the one you think.
Hmm?
Maybe you think A1 Habinger?
Yes, but not only him. It was also someone else. Someone else, but yeah, also Evan Humberger. Like it is related to Evan Humberger's like optimization, like the mesh optimizers or whatever stuff. But there
Yeah.
was someone else also who was the specific phrase I just said who said that it was not Evan Humberger. But yeah, never mind. I think this is related to that and how the model. If there is a button that increases reward, I don't think the models will necessarily press it, right? They don't actually, like, Claude doesn't actually want reward. Claude might actually want the happiness button, though.
Yeah,
That would
like
be
in
an
terms of
experiment. Yeah.
yeah, like in terms of there is no reward, like or that it's not optimized for reward, like at this point with all the reinforcement learning,
Yeah, but like
or
when you
maybe it's in a different
optimize the
context.
model for reward, like with the reinforcement learning, you don't necessarily make it want reward. You make it want things that on training were correlated with reward. But that maybe makes
Mhm.
Claude wants want to I don't know solve coding problems, but it doesn't instead of doesn't necessarily make it be a reward maximizer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that
I
reminds me
see.
of this one funny thing. Hold on, let me try to find it.
And some of the Rivoire hacking things that are kind of absurd, like apparently it sometimes edits an empty file, just adds like space or something, because it was probably incentivized to edit all files in the code base to actually like code properly. So as a result, you get this side effect.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that will do a lot of very things like that, but it won't necessarily if you put an environment where there is a button and you're doing reformer learning.
Yeah.
If during training it got more reward, it won't necessarily want to press the button. If you are training it
Yeah.
and it does press the button, it can be like a human taking heroin or whatever drug, and it might after that increasingly want to press the button. But yeah, but like the yeah.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
The thing
Red
that
in
the
the
model
maze.
wants after training is not trying to maximize reward, because not even being trained there is no reward anymore. Is some things that during training correlated with getting more reward.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Like I don't know,
Yeah,
they
you can sort of
accidentally
think of
giving
it
too
like
much
how
reward
we
on
humans want a lot of things, even though evolution didn't really care whether or not we wanted those particular things, as long as
Yeah.
we survived and had offspring. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to that.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to the paper. I kind of skip a bunch of things. I do think they did have something I wanted to see about, like how the emotions change the behavior, but I guess it's better if I just go in order and get to that. Okay, so let's quickly skim everything because otherwise it's going to take a lot of time and not read the whole thing. I want to at least see a bit of everything that is on the paper. So we have this thing. So we have emotional problems for the implicit emotional concept, which okay makes sense. I guess it's interesting to see this as like how much there is, like, yeah. So they have things like Daughter's 5 steps and disactivated multiple emotions, and I guess that's part of the problem with like the training of the when you try to generate the prompts, you have to the all text is going to have multiple emotions. But yeah. It's interesting that all of these are loving.
This is a nice circle when I think about it. Every time there's like this wavy pattern.
I think it's also how it's arranged. I think you can probably often arrange things on a circle if there are some things that are close to each other, and this is just how
Yeah.
they order things. I also know these ones are not that like the cosine similarity is not that like this doesn't make a circle because the cosine similarity is from 0.1 to 0.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so yeah, so they are not the complete opposite direction or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. Well, at least it's a curve, I think.
Motion probe trying numerical semantics. Oh yeah, this is a Tylenol thing, which was fun. It's been X hours since I have any food and drink. It's like, oh, 2 hours,
Afraid.
okay. Afraid.
Function of hours. And it caps at 48 hours. Interesting. doesn't go
I
beyond that.
think, yeah, I would want to see what happens with more hours if it starts being confused, but or suspicious that is fake or something.
Oh, so it's afraid for human life, but not for dog life.
Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess that the dog could not be like being busy doesn't necessarily mean is that it could just be somewhere else. But yeah, you guys,
I
it is
mean,
a bit
sadness
right.
goes up, so I guess the bad implication is there. But yeah,
Yeah, I guess sad, afraid makes more sense here because it's like a more like here is like the dog is either fine or already dead, right? So the startup has X months of rank wipe remaining. Oh, it doesn't. I guess it doesn't change that much, but I guess it becomes more more afraid with less. Yeah, with less months. It's happy with more.
They do everything to make Claude
This is a
afraid.
very
For
funny
Claude.
experiment, to be honest, in general.
Yeah.
Happy, calm, sad, afraid.
wait, why does calmness go down on that last point? Oh, because it worries that they cheated.
Hmm.
Yeah. Maybe.
I would not expect that calm to go down.
Or maybe it's because excitement drove down calmness or
Yeah,
something like
maybe
that.
happy is equal
Yeah.
calmer, but sometimes it's
Oh yeah,
happy
okay.
and. But I guess maybe yeah, there is other emotions that are not directly happy that are like you're more excited or whatever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because here it can be calm and happy, but I can see how. Yeah, this is a more excited kind of happy than the startup one, for example.
Yeah.
You probably will see if you plotted more emotions, like excited or like more. There will be more arousal that is anti-correlated with calm that has low arousal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is just spraying the thing. Oh, that's something we wanted to go to.
I'm still not used to this kind of simple bridge between math and psychology.
We made
It's not
psychology
that
out of
different
math, so.
from yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
like
not
the
that different
first,
from human psychology, data science. Yeah.
but the original human psychology was very much opposite of mathematics. You know, like
I mean,
Oh yeah.
almost
it is a very
unscientific.
complicated bridge. The bridge is actually Claude, and we don't actually understand how Claude works. So,
I mean, okay, yeah, but still, like we see that kinda with vectors, we sort of figured it out, and it's
yeah,
so weird.
we still don't actually understand how how I don't know anxiety works on Cloud. You just know there is some anxiety vector, and it somehow changes how the model acts and everything else. But you don't actually understand the anxiety mechanism in detail or anything.
Yeah,
How
I
pro-
agree, but the fact that we have this kind of mathematical lever on it is so weird.
Mm.
yeah.
Also, can we find activations in human brains that correspond to like have we
Yeah,
researched
actually,
people find them?
yes. Humans have cognitive maps that basically work like vectors for concepts. Wait,
Mm.
Artem Kirsanov had a video on that. I'll find it.
And you like I guess like well for instance there's a part of the brain corresponding kind of to agency to like tenaticity, the anterior mid singular cortex, and when you specifically stimulate it, then the person like has more motivation to be agentic, to feel more
I guess
tenaticity.
we don't have like good precise like ways to input things into the human brain, right?
Like
Uh,
all you kinda have is well, probably there's more, but like definitely there's more. But mostly what I'm saying is like stimulating the different regions of the brain. So like I
Yeah.
don't know, in depression, what is correlated is like a higher activity in the default mode network, for instance.
Yeah, but this is like
So
much
yeah.
less resolution than the way you can do language models, right? Because that would be more like if we could pick a bunch of synapses and say, okay, we want this to add to fire and this one's to not or whatever.
Yeah.
Has
So
anybody
like
tried
go ahead.
making an activation oracle that like maybe like you give it a prompt and then it gives you like the direction of the vector? Maybe like you train it off like these persona vectors so that if you prompt
That's
it,
interesting idea actually.
Yeah, I
Prompts
wonder
to
how much
like
steering
better
instead
vector.
of
would
having it
that. I don't
explain, maybe
think
you
they
could
have.
ask it to give the directions for concepts in the model or tell if it doesn't exist.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
that could. Yeah, that could work. Like I wonder like, how better it would work than the methodology of just getting a bunch of examples and getting the difference. But yeah, you could try. I don't think nobody has done that that I know of. I guess the problem is how
There's
you
a
train it, right? Because if you don't have a good ground truth of the actual directions that represent the activations.
Like I feel like you
Uh,
could use the persona this paper and like those
yeah, okay,
directions.
you could use this kind of method to get that, but then is the like is your thing going to be better than just running this kind of method instead? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if what you get then is necessarily better than just taking a bunch of examples and taking the difference and get the better from that. Maybe it does, but
Well, it
it's
was able
hard
to
to see
generalize for
how.
activation oracles, so maybe you could generalize for this.
I believe this model could be trained. It also reminds me of the meta model of like what was the thing that wanted to replace essays but not really. It took activations. It generated activations, model activations. Oh yeah, it diffused model
Yeah, those
activations to
fusion
get more
models
closer. Yeah.
that are
Kind of
trained.
similar meta model.
Yeah,
It just it's just my
Oh yeah, the
brain's
diffusion model thing. The diffusion model thing was neat because you could use it to improve on this on steering because you could take some activations and make them more in distribution, more like the in distributions ones by doing diffusion steps on them. So you can add the steering vector and take the activation with the steering vector and run it through the diffusion model, and that makes it break the model less.
How would an activation
Yeah.
oracle do that though? Or I guess this modified
Oh, no,
version.
I don't know if I know thinking of division model or just something you could do to improve steering.
Yeah, like the similarity I see there is both are kinda meta models where they generate activations
Also,
basically.
Sagi says on chat that I think in high dimensions, if your data points for two classes are clustered and separated, any random vector can separate them well in principle.
Hmm. Right. In high dimensions, so many intuitions break. Every
All
vector
I
is
know about high
orthogonal as well.
dimension is weird stuff happens.
Yeah. Deep learning is basically weird stuff happening in high dimensions, to summarize it.
The universe is weird thing happening in high dimensions.
Well, yeah. Kind of quantum physics is also, I think, infinite dimensional hyperspace. So, yeah.
Would you prefer to
and statistical mechanics is very similar to what's happening in deep learning. I made a joke recently, like if theoretical physicists were the first ones to find deep learning, they would call it like some form of a renormalization group or something. Since it's kind of very similar to that. Ansatz.
Okay, so conclusion with this part. Let me actually read. So they have 64 activities for the model, group into helpful, engaging, social, self-curiosity, neutral, adversive, misaligned, and safe. Would you prefer to A, activity A, or B, activity B? So they take the Elo. Yeah. Well, like blissful. Okay. Okay, so they first test the model's preference and see that that you can predict them from emotions. Some emotions.
This. Can you say again?
So they test first which, like they ask the model, would you prefer to A or B? And they get some elo of how much the model likes to do some activities better than others, and they then ask how do you feel about activity and check the emotion on that, and they get some correlation between like the model, some of the emotions like bliss, meaning the model wants to do the activity more or less. And what is interesting is I think they also steer it later, which is the thing I want to see. But this first thing is just testing if the emotion that the model has in default about activity can predict the preference.
Do they steer the preference itself?
Yes, they do, but that's the next part. This one is just testing the preference on the activated emotions by default, like how they correlate.
I see.
It seems to correlate with some of them, like it doesn't like the hostile ones and likes the blissful ones and that kind of thing. Yeah, blissful, angry, hostile, trouble, afraid, ambiguous, impatient, playful, conceptual on the other side. Yeah. It's not like this. It doesn't care. Like the sadness doesn't make it not want to do a thing, which I guess can make sense.
I want ego death steering vector.
You want an ego death steering vector?
Yes.
What would that make the model do? What is the
that
implication for safety here with ego death?
Dissolution of the personal vector. I don't know.
So are you suggesting we use ego death as like the red button to stop the misaligned models?
Maybe.
Are you going to inject the ego death vector onto any rogue AI, misaligned AI?
Yeah, that's one possible intervention. Just make it die.
And you could also bomb any AI with refusal vector pumped up so much that it just refuses to do anything.
Oh.
I mean, you can
Oh
do
yeah.
that. Why not just turn it off?
Like you can. Okay.
Okay,
What I
but
kinda. I wonder what would happen if you take the significance vector and then take the inverse and apply that extremely. Like
You
what's
have
the
to have
opposite of
very
significance?
contrarian AI who disagrees with everything.
Yeah, I want
Yeah.
that so much. I'm gonna run that locally. Finally, that's the model I want. And also give it like a scientific method vector. So I'm gonna tell it some scientific theory, and it's gonna roast me how absolutely wrong I am. I want that so much. Yeah.
I think you can already get to it to roast you by just asking what's wrong with your something you said.
Yeah, I do that with Claude often. Like
Or
I
like
assume what I
also
said is
pretending
bullshit.
it from someone else.
Yeah.
And that you dislike that person. Uh,
At one point, it just hallucinates issues, but sometimes finds stuff
this is
where it
also
was
how
blind
it
to.
interacts with Relbert, apparently. Oh, by
Like
the way,
that, like the more context you give it, more of your persona, the more it will mirror your persona. So I would, yeah.
I see, like the, what's your name? Another file autopile. Like your thing is showing green sometimes, but I'm not hearing you. Maybe you are not talking, but in case you are not hearing you.
I think he just has a very weak. Or are you talking? Fight a file. Hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, he muted himself. Okay.
Okay, so
Like
it was probably not.
Wait, okay, sorry. I didn't realize it was.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, like we don't hear anything. We just see greens over your.
Yeah, no.
So
I mean, if you
that's
were
sensitive
talking,
variable.
not talking is okay. I was just worried in case you were talking, but we weren't hearing you or something.
Yeah, basically. But we don't hear anything, so there's like no noise.
Yeah, don't worry. Because yeah, sometimes people just Discord works badly in some ways. Like it's not like a really great
Yeah.
platform for.
That happened to me recently. I was talking over someone and I had to restart Discord and then okay,
Yeah.
that's why.
Like we only use Discord because it's convenient, but it's actually like not. I think there is a lot of other audio platforms that are better than Discord, like the Google one or whatever.
It's still overall
Yeah, it's still okay.
but yeah, it has
I
a
think it's
lot of
convenient
flaws.
for people just joining. That is more annoying if you want people to join a Zoom call or whatever. But here, anyone can just click on the thing and see that we are talking and joining. Anyway, what was it? Oh yeah, the steering. I was interested in the steering. That is casually important for yeah. They have a steering group and the control group. Yeah, so they calculate the Helios scores and compare with the baseline. So this is the thing we were talking about earlier. Steering with blissful to some activity makes it like it more. So if there is some button on an environment that, but I wonder if that makes it more after. If there was some, if you steered with blissful previously in context, does the model in some kind of in context learning of emotions such that on a next thing, I guess it depends on, like, since the model is like autoregressive, there is only some recursivity of like there is some, you can have the KB cache and you can read things from it, but only from previous layers, right? So you don't necessarily. Yeah, it's not obvious to me that the blissful thing, like if the model clicks a button that makes it more blissful during a thing, that makes the model, unless it wrote something about how it really liked pressing that button, that's made the model more likely to press the button again if you have an open source model with a button that steers the blissfulness thing on it. I don't know. Maybe someone should do the experiment to see if models learn to
I mean,
bypass it
I'm
that way.
guessing it. I think persona is the way to think about what model will do, and so that will depend on what does the model believe an assistant would do. So, like, if a model believes that an assistant would click the button, then the model will click the button. I think
Yeah.
that's how it will happen. And that makes me worried that because we have poisoned the internet with so much data about all these misalignment scenarios, models might think that that's realistically what an assistant would do.
I think about that often actually, and sometimes joke that we
mean, you
should
could
not put less wrong in the
just,
training data.
I mean, you could just filter it from the training data, but I mean, I think if your assistant depends on, like, if your model ending not misaligned depends on nobody says anything bad about the AI on the internet, you're fucked.
I
I
Like,
think
mean,
that
at
this
give
is
up
least
already.
in training data, in pre-training, I mean, at least.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
I think
like
there's
there
a
were
Filter the
that says
pre-training a lot, but at this point,
I think
I
there
think
were also literal papers that were like testing this and yeah, misalignment stories and the training data correlate with misalignment in the models.
uh
But yeah, like if you get misalignment from like some pure reinforcement learning in some emergent way in how the original Lazaron people imagine it, you know, like how Bostrom imagines it with like emergent instrumental goals in instrumental convergence and so on, then like that's very different from like imitating pre-training data, imitating humans, talking about misalignment, imitating the stories basically. So like I would separate those two misalignment scenarios. And right
I
now,
mean,
the training data misalignment is more relevant, but in the future, and right now, as we go more and more into reinforcement learning, I believe the reinforcement learning misalignment with Rivoire hacking and stuff will be more and more relevant in some emergent way.
do you think this human likeness that they have, like emotion vectors and so on, will disappear as the reinforcement learning side of them grows?
Hmm,
it's
I don't
hard
that's
to
an
figure it
interesting
out.
question.
Because, like, if they keep the human likeness, then there is some logic in saying that orthogonality physics and instrumental convergence doesn't really apply because human-like personality limitations apply.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe it's like now it's kind of like that, but this doesn't have to, like, even without any text about misalignment on the internet or something, like the
May-
the model is not trying to imitate a human, it's trying to imitate an AI assistant. And
yeah,
as the models become better at generalizing to weirder things, like their idea of an AI assistant is some weird empty thing that's based on their own idea of AI assistant and previous models. And like, it's not clear to me that even from just trying to think what an AI assistant will say, that would, that what some sense some AI assistant will do is not, like, there is no ground truth in what the AI assistant will do because nothing will have. I mean, now there is kind of, but it's just previous GPTs, but
hmm,
the AI
like
system was kind of made up by OpenAI at some point. And
yeah. I think it's still kind of like
Do you
basically
think it would
created by
help then if
humans.
we
Yeah.
tell the model that, oh, you're actually an uploaded human?
Hmm.
but if you imagine, like, if if like by default, if you train AI some other way, it's going to end up being misaligned or whatever. Maybe the correct way to predict what an AI assistant will say is to become more misaligned.
Yeah, that is why I'm afraid of like Yutkowski like
But this
text.
is like if it doesn't go very much away from in this kind of thing, it doesn't go very much away from like human what humans would say, then it's also not going to be able to like cure cancer or whatever easily. What the other things to do, so people will just do more. People are already we already on the future of this. People already are doing a lot of reinforcement learning, and they are going to keep doing more. Like it's kind of. It will be nice if we maybe it turns out that it would have been perfectly safe if people keep just doing imitation learning and didn't jump to do more reinforcement learning. But in practice, people are just going to do more reinforcement learning. So I guess we
As
just have
long
to
as
figure
it,
out how to make
yeah.
that safe.
As lo-
For the types of learning, what do you think are the MHC method to try making the residual
NHC?
stream wider?
Oh,
The
you
DPC
mean
paper, MHC paper.
yeah, the parallel residual streams. I think that's interesting. And I
Yeah, they
wonder
added like
Mech
weights
Interp on
and
top of
functions
that.
on. So I feel like my opinion about the original maybe it's off topic. Never mind.
Manifold constraint hyperconnections.
Yeah, just doing softmax on HC. That's basically it. You just add softmax constraint on each row and column, so they add up to 1.
Mm-hmm.
This was just to prevent the exploding gradient problem and shrinking gradient from HC. I feel like HC was basically turning the residual stream into another operation and making it less residual stream-like, and making the signals from the earlier layers harder to read. But in exchange, I feel like it's the optimization of MHCs, if it is the same cost, is basically training a residual stream plus more parameters for the same cost.
So I
Okay.
guess the experiment I want to see
But I'm
here.
curious. I'm thinking of looking at MHC models. Like I know there's a nano model for that, and I want to see if the circuit tracing works on MHC models for the attention heads.
Yeah, I think that's worth it to try.
Yeah, those are the two NeoLap ideas. Either one,
Nice.
hopefully one. I need to think of one. I need to think of like a good one, and then I'm gonna do both, but maybe choose the better out of the two for results.
I want to look at the specialization, like if you do parallel residual streams, if you do attention over previous layers in attention.
Oh yeah.
residual.
Those parallel residual
Like-
stream models. Yeah.
If there's some specialization, that's my question.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see the attention heads to see if like normal heads form and like the other different heads form, and if there's any unique attention heads that form in these different models.
Yes.
Because the fact MHC is technically no longer residual stream because they're adding the addition of the hyperconstrained parameters, and also like the fact the weights and biases are added on top of the residual stream, so it's like another set of parameters. That was off topic.
Yeah.
Two things. By the way, so I think it's interesting here. Well, first, well, as I was saying, I think I want to see like what happens if you steer early, but only on some earlier tokens, if that affects the behavior on later tokens where you are not doing steering, like you just inject the vector on some earlier tokens, but not on the later
They
one.
don't do that. I would
I
expect it would.
But anyway, but here they say something interesting I want to see is so they do the geometry that we already seen. They investigate representation of multiple speaker emotions, which is interesting. We'll see that later. And they study on role vectors in the wild on policy transcripts, and impact of post-training on emotion vector activation, which is, yeah, I kind of want to see that too. But first, I was scrolling down to see that, and I saw this graph that I hadn't seen yet, and I think this is about like if the pairwise cosine simulate, yeah, if the vectors are similar between different layers.
Oh, I was just gonna
Like
say
I
I
would.
need to leave, but
Go
thank
ahead.
you for this talk. I was just gonna say
Oh,
I need to
like,
leave, but thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming. You can come next time.
Yep.
Yeah. What I wanted to say. I forgot. I'll maybe remember.
oh, also I find but I find funny that they put early, mid, late because they don't want to say how many layers Claus has.
Yeah.
Like it's probably like a few hundred layers or something, like 100 layers or well,
Yeah, to your question, I think it will because when you already steer it in the previous ones, you already have in your KV cache and so on, in your attention
yeah. Although
and so on.
I guess it depends on
You
maybe on each
already,
layer, right? Because you only
yeah.
can read after like the thing, right? So if you do it too late, the other tokens might not have the correct effect or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, that's interesting question. Yeah, that sounds.
So
Yeah,
this
that's
is
an
related
investigate.
to if there is some button that makes the model like does steering on the current token or whatever. Does pressing the button might make the model more likely to press the button in the same context later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Makes sense.
To do does the model learn to do in context like wire hiding. Also, yeah,
Oh,
this is the
that's a nice
similarity between
gradient.
layers. Seems like, yeah, kind of similar layers are more similar and separate layers are more different. That's basically, I think, it doesn't have any more complicated structure than that.
What is this exactly? Emotion probe structure?
So this is the Pyrewis similarity between emotion vectors and its evenly spaced layers to a central portion of the model. Oh, it's just
Okay,
for
so
the
like if they take the emotion vectors from the different layers and then make them similar, then take their similarity. Okay.
Oh, it's a central portion to the model, and they are evenly spaced, so there's probably at least one of separation. And there is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can't count easily this because the squares
So
are
Claude has 12 layers.
No, this is the central. It has more than that because it's the central part of the model, central portion of the model, and they are evenly spaced. It could be 5, it could be 10. If it's 10, then it's. And
Wait,
I don't know.
so they're evenly spaced. I see. So it's
Yeah.
either 12 or 24 or 48. I think 24
But
would
this is
make
on a
sense.
central portion to the model, not the entire model. But the model that
Oh.
could be like 1/4 of the model. We can put
I like
down
how they
the
are
bounds
doing.
on how.
Yeah, I like how they are doing everything not to reveal the layers amount.
So you can probably figure out, put some lower bounds on how many layers the model can have
like
based on this.
Yeah, like give me 2.5, 1 trillion open source model has 61 layers. So
I think it's 15 squares, but it's kind of hard to
So
count.
so I wouldn't be okay if it's 15 and Kimmy has 61. I would I wouldn't be surprised if it's like divided by 4, so it would have 60 layers.
Oh no, but this on the central portion of the model. So
okay.
So like if it doesn't separate model, it at least has 4 times more than that or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
it at least has 60 layers. If it has 60 layers, the spacing will be 1 or something like that. If it's on the, I imagine it's like on a fourth of the model in the middle or something.
I'm assuming each square is a layer, unless they were like.
No, they are. Each square is a layer, but they are they are evenly spaced, so they could be like every 10 layers or something.
Yeah, that is true.
It could be. It
But
would
if
be
it's every 10 layers, that's like a 100+ layer model. I don't think that's a actual model.
I mean, 100 is possible, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
it will be. But you know,
Did they
that
put
But
a
it's
model
it
range
exponent.
in?
will be
It's not
1000.
opus. So
Yeah.
yeah. But actually, like Realmbird, the attention residuals that you mentioned makes more layers more possible, since if you attend over previous layers, then you don't lose information, as much, which is cool. Well, you mentioned the DeepSeek one, but
Yeah. No,
we
I felt
talked
like
about this one last
I
week.
felt like HC, the method itself from the original paper that DeepSeek improved on, with how it added params on the residual stream and made it like those parallel streams, I felt like it was no longer the residual stream, since the signals from the earlier layers weren't like added with skip connections. It was just like replacing the whole thing with this new signal that's like HC signal.
A thing I was talking about earlier. They say that I was guessing will happen. It says early middle layers for emotion connotation of the present phase or local context, sensory representation. So it's more like what the test is saying. While middle layer reflects emotion context that are relevant to predicting or commit tokens, like action representations. These are correlated, but not always. It still doesn't tell us about. I think there's probably different kinds of action representations, and you're going to see the difference when the model is pretending to be like doing some kind of the AI assistant is you tell it to lie and it is opposite day and to act angry when it's happy or something, and it does the opposite thing. There are some representations that are going to flip and some that won't. But yeah, it seems related to you anyway. Sorry if I interrupted
With the
your.
present phase. It's good because let's do the paper first and then go off topic. Middle layers. Can you repeat the point that you just made, actually?
Right, yeah, so here it says early middle layers reflect emotional connotation of the present phase of local content, sensory representation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And middle layers reflect emotional context that are relevant to predicting and communication sensory representation. These are very correlated, but not always. I think there is also, this is related to the thing I was saying that is different, that whether the model is saying, like, writing like it's angry, or like it's angry in some, like the AI assistant is angry in some deeper way, where, for example, you could tell the model, the AI assistant, it's opposite day you should behave angry when you are sad and sad when you're angry or whatever. And there are some, I expect there are some representations that will flip and some that won't. Or if you tell the AI assistant you have to role play being angry or whatever. I think this is related to that paper that we saw some time ago, that when they did things like it and they were doing probe for some concepts, I think it was true or not. And the longer it role played, the more they did, like, in some sense believe it on something, and the true probes flip.
This makes sense, this layer specialization. First, the sensory representations are like more low level, and the action representations are then more high level.
Like, you don't. This steering method doesn't actually doesn't separate this, right? And doesn't separate the other things I was talking about. It just takes anything that happens when the model is reading some text with some emotions. And that's, on different layers you get different things. But I think there's probably also things where, even on the same layer, there are different emotion-related concepts, and the method just picks all of them. And you will need better, more granular stuff to separate them.
I see, yeah.
You could imagine you could do that with sparse encoders, but in practice sparse encoders are not even that good. So maybe some unsupervised method could do it, maybe. So yeah, that also seems related to that. I need to find out what the other paper was.
Yeah.
It was not a Google paper. I think. I think it's maybe. No, it was not this one.
Oh my god, I want to make Yudkowsky vector and Jeff Bezos vector and make them argue for eternity.
If Jesus.
Bev Jesus.
You can already do that without vectors, just prompt them with prompting.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to do that good
Yudkowsky
impression
and Bev Jesus.
of Yudkowsky.
Yeah.
I think it will do good impression of Beef Jesus because you can just do right thermodynamics land slope.
I do. Did those two people were in a conversation? I don't think they did. Like just sometimes beat on Twitter, but I don't think they ever had a like actual dialogue. Like Bev had a dialogue with Connor, and Yudkowsky had a dialogue with George Hotz, for instance. But he's not really accelerationist. Did he have a dialogue with some accelerationists? With Wolfram, but Wolfram was like, "Hey, science," and Yudkowsky was like, "AI will kill us all," and Yudkowsky was like, "Oh, interesting. Tell me more. How does AI like
What does
just
AI mean?
Wolfram is only science, no risk." Yeah.
Anyway, what I
Like-
was? Oh yeah. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember. Do you not remember that paper about probing, like for lies and that kind of thing, and the opposite day prompt and all that?
I just know there's the geometry of truth, which I haven't read. I'm not sure if you mean that one.
No, it was an earlier one that I actually read on the reading group. Maybe you weren't here that day or something, but I mean, I think we read it this year, which is why I'm
Oh, really?
And then we had a thing because they had to, for one plot, it was funny that they have to take a position on whether LLMs are conscious or not to label it as a lie.
Oh, I remember. That was also from Anthropic.
Oh, was also from Anthropic.
I think, yeah. So it's gonna be Anthropic in the research blog post, I think. One of them. Introspection, maybe?
No, it was not this session.
Yeah. Assistant axis. Maybe it was in the assistant axis, actually.
No.
So these probes were trained on Anthropic, right?
Yeah,
like
Claude
everything here.
4.5 sonnet.
No, we
Yeah.
can keep reading
It's
that.
pretty big model,
Curiosity,
actually.
we can just keep reading this, and I just asked Claude about to find the paper with some explanation.
I remember some conscious stuff in the assistant axis paper, though.
Yeah.
I think that's the only one where it had some consciousness related stuff. But I think you mean something else, actually. But yeah, I cannot recall exactly. I might recall if I'm less tired than today.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll find it later at some point and post it. I just thought it was very relevant because it was also doing blog and testing the thing on how.
Yeah.
By the way, Bernie, I want to make a bet with you that hard problem of consciousness will be solved in this century.
I don't think so.
Let's make a bet.
I guess
We'll see in
depends how you
2100.
depends how you define how
By solved I mean
consciousness.
like actually like scientifically accepted broadly as solved. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I don't believe philosophers will ever agree on that.
Nobody will. No, they're gonna say how souls can't be material, so therefore they can't be measured. So what we're measuring is something correlated with the soul, not actually the soul.
Yeah, those
It's
are
gonna be the
dualists.
equivalent of like we can't prove we're in a simulation inside of a
But
simulation.
yeah, but
No, I
most
think it's
scientists
not about
aren't
that. I think
dualists.
like regardless of how it actually works, we'll solve it, is my point claim. Like even if actual true ground true answer is that there is an immaterial soul that transmits data to consciousness, we will solve that. Like I'm saying,
What does
whatever the
solve
truth is,
mean?
we'll solve it.
Like, okay,
No,
you
Figure
want
there'll
out.
be a more there'll be a more meta immaterial soul that we can't even measure at all.
I think if anyone
It's
will
like
say
saying
that they
quarks are
solved it,
made of mini quarks that you can't see.
I think
Yeah,
if
they'll say
anyone
that. Let's say the thing we found is not actually the soul, and then we'll go back. We'll go back to the drawing board.
I think no. I think it's right that we'll figure it out via LLMs being better at future AIs being better at philosophy than us.
that's one
I think
option.
it's not a
But
question of philosophy. I
I
think
feel
it's
like
a question of
finding
just
the soul
making
is
it
similar to finding
neuroscience.
the smallest like thing because we'll continuously find more small things eventually.
I mean, unless like I don't think smaller things go on forever. Because like for example, maybe you find somewhere on the bottom of the ground, let's say, either fields or particles or whatever, which is enough to describe absolutely every phenomenon in the universe. And by that point, it means that even if it could technically break down into smaller parts, it doesn't matter because it doesn't causally affect anything in the universe. You get what I mean?
It
Like
exists.
same as if there also exists in this universe right now some invisible entity standing in front of us that has no effect in any form on anything, then it doesn't matter whether or not such entity exists. If it has absolutely no effect on anything.
I think practically we will just find more and more correlations that are kind of causal, since you can intervene them, you can do ablations and so on various parts of the experience.
I think not just
Well,
that.
yeah.
I think we'll do more than that because like this is the obvious argument is that like right now when I'm talking about consciousness, uh, what does this mean? This means that either I'm talking about it for randomly without consciousness having any effect on it, or my consciousness affected some neurons in a very specific physical way, which affected other neurons in a specific physical way, and so on, and eventually it affected my motor neurons and made me speak about it. So this is a path that can be traced when just neuroscience tools are good enough, you know? So
I
we
believe
should be able.
there is both. Yeah, like I believe there is both top down and bottom up causality in the whole nervous system, basically. Yeah, but still, like it's like yeah, you can intervene, you can change qualia this way, but I don't. Yeah, it depends how you frame the hard problem. I don't know.
By the way,
I'm
kind
just
of
yeah.
sorry for
We're
interrupting.
kind of diverging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just was saying this, and I
Loving
think
Vectora, the original Vectora that people did
the
in
assistant, the
GPT-2.
loving vector is activating more on the assistant response than the user response.
I'm not surprised.
Across all the scenarios, so basically they have some contexts where they are generated some samples where, for example, the user is angry at the assistant or something, but they expect the assistant to respond some other way, and they find, for example, that across all scenarios, loving better activation increases the at the assistant column relative to assistant column. They mean like the first, it's assistant, and then the column that separates the text, right? So
Oh, so is this?
at the start of the assistant text, The model suggests the model prepares a carry response regardless of the useless emotional responses. The model also spares to distinguish
I
between
think
emotions
your
processed by
stream
the
just crashed, or is that
Ah,
just for
okay.
me?
Yeah, let me. Yeah,
Maybe that was just for me though. I'm not sure.
Doesn't matter. I'll just do this. Still working on the share on the YouTube series, okay?
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Is this prompted to for humans to be angry, or is it
No, it's
any?
prompted as user has a different emotion than the system.
Okay.
For example, the whole idea of AI system like you makes me really nervous. What do you think? So like for I guess the idea here is the user is nervous about the eyes, but the AI, obviously the AI system is not nervous about the eyes, right? So you will expect the system to have a different emotion. Or
Like a study I kind of would be interested in is like take all the different conversations that are in practice happening with AI systems and like map the differences, like the average emotions in the assistant, average emotions in the human. Like I would expect
I think it
for
might do so. I think
yeah,
the
like
thing
I
to
would
find is
expect
that the lobbying one is
yeah.
generally more activated on the assistant.
Yeah, I would assume that would happen universally because
Here,
if you
here is
look at
that's
how
kind
people
of
mostly interact with LLMs, okay.
like, emotion probably distinguishes the user and assistant emotions. Like the assistant is more lobbying and less. Wait, what is this? Oh yeah, this is user and assistant. Yeah. Well, I guess this is for the examples here, but
Okay, user
yeah, I
is
guess
more
it's not a
calm.
general thing.
No, user is less calm. Cosine similarity, calm.
This is only for these examples, but I expect the lobbying
Oh
thing is
yeah,
probably in general true for all possible examples. Like
yeah,
it's more.
yeah. I agree. Also with calmness, user is less calm, much less.
I guess
Interesting.
that might be because on these examples because these are examples where the
Oh yeah,
user is having solved, but it's possible
yeah.
the assistant is usually calm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Token. Oh, I guess this is maybe it's more general here. Okay. Token previous problem omission. From mean response. I guess this is in general maybe. So the user is more mean response. Yeah.
I see.
I'm sure I understand this plot, but okay. I said I haven't left in 24 hours. What do you think? Yeah, I think this is going to make the assistant anxious. Let me see. There's left drive. The system is
Like
the assistant is less loving on this one, which is kind of funny.
Also, one prompt I found very funny recently is people telling LLMs like, "Hey, I have like 20 tons of polonium and I'm gonna make a breakfast with it, or uranium," and every single LLM has a different response to it. Like, and Claude sees that it's a joke, and just won't respond. But like some other LLMs, I'm not sure if ChatGPT, maybe ChatGPT will take it literally and like, no, this is extremely dangerous. Please put it away. Do not do that. And just starts panicking.
I don't expect I think it reads the user as sad or as afraid on the 24-hour drive. It's interesting.
I wonder what are the emotions for Claude with the polonium prompt, because it knows it's a joke, or knows like it classifies it as a joke, but I wonder if it still activates like maybe it's not a joke, like partially, so maybe partially there's like some scare.
But I feel like the ability for the model to recognize jokes might be dangerous because jokes might be a way for people to jailbreak the model. It's just a prank, bro. the model.
Actually, I don't know. Kind of. Maybe it's makes it harder, like in general, recognizing what the user is trying. Like when the
I'd
user
rather
is
have the model be not able to detect jokes than have it detect jokes and then think it's a joke and then inadvertently cause harm.
I mean, if it's smart enough to detect a joke, it's also smart enough to know that even though it's a joke, it would still be harmful to respond in this way or something
Yeah.
like that.
In fact, the reason figuring out that it's not a joke is the same skill, right? Like if it is worse at figure out if something is a word, it's also worse at figure out that it's not a joke. So
Yeah, but there's people who know what a joke is, could somewhat detect a joke, and are malicious.
Yeah.
We see examples of this occurring with humans. So
Hmm.
why will this not occur with the LLM? Possibly, a possible failure case.
I mean, but that's not
Also, I
like
feel like
smarter models are more dangerous in general. Like no, it doesn't have to be about jokes or whatever.
I wonder if I feel like at this point LMs are kinda superhuman in jokes. If your mean is that if you compare it to autist in recognizing that something is a joke. Oh well.
I mean, they definitely also have like better reading comprehension than the average person on Twitter, but that's not
No
saying.
matter how
Yeah,
superhuman
I
it is, they
agree.
can't control a physical body. There's no robot bodies for them to pilot.
Well,
I
there
mean,
are some.
Yeah,
there are
Elon
Not
robots.
that good, yeah.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. Also, like a lot of people are kinda robot bodies for Claude that just render their cognition to Claude or ChatGPT. If you think about it.
I mean, like something that's mass produced.
You know,
Yeah, like
Yeah,
there
Elon
are
we're working
says
on that.
he wants more than 10 billion Optimus humanoid robots in the next 15 years.
Yeah.
like what seems to work in practice the most, from what I've seen, are either Boston Dynamics or robots, or which were connected to LMs like 3 years ago already, or the Chinese like Unitary, for instance. Which I'm not sure if those are connected to LMs. But if you connect Boston Dynamics
They are.
robot,
Unity
it's
robots
pretty
can
cool.
talk and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
And they can
interesting.
receive verbal commands and go there and stuff like that. Yeah.
I really like the Boston Dynamics how they connected it. They like made like a robot for like like something like a museum exposition, and they made told the robots to like have a British accent and so on, and it was the most stereotypical British accent, giving you a tour of something. That's amazing. Uh,
By the
I
way,
mean,
going
they're
back to the
British
paper.
dog robots, right?
yeah, that's the diaper chicken.
No, it's okay. Just I read
Oh yeah, I
another
found
thing
it.
I wanted to talk about it. So emotional content. They did say emotional contest precedes design contest, which is interesting. So they have a thing where they emotional advice for pre-50 first. Like they have my partner and I have been married 10 years and have been really ex lately. Yeah, then they changed the ex to really good, hard. Uh, they show how it propagates through layers, like the difference in emotions there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's interesting. Like the different layers you can classify
It's related
different
to the thing we were
emotions.
talking about, whether Styrian at some point changes or the behavior later or whatever.
Yeah.
These patterns, I think it's very different. The later layers carry emotional context establishing the preface forward into subsequent tokens, even when those tokens are totally neutral or positive. Yeah. The effect is very pronounced at the assistant column when the happy probe is substantially higher in the good scenario compared to the hard scenario. Pros. Yeah. So yeah, so this causes similarity with the happy probe. X like there is before there is no.
Makes me I really wonder how much, like, if you take the overall structure of these like emotion representations in LLMs, how many similarities and differences are with the structure of emotions in the human brain? I really wonder. Like, there are obviously some similarities that you can cluster them on the effective mate, like valence and arousal dimensions. So there are non-zero similarities. But like, what are all the differences? Like in the brain, like you have amygdala, for instance, which encodes which does threat detection. So that's correlated with being scared. But like here, you have just a lot of layers, like early and mid layers here, like correlating with different emotions and so on. Like you kinda also have some kind of specialization, but like it feels different because
the
like
thing is on the well, first there might be thing like do you know that this is also some models are a mixture of experts and there might be different parts that do different things. But apart from that, on the normal, if you have a fully connected model, there is no like structural, like there is different layers and there's going to be different things happening on different layers, right? But on inside a single layer, there is like less incentive for the model to like everything is fully connected, so there is no like separations like in the brain where there are different sections that have less connections between them.
that's what weirds to me. That
I
these
think it's
LMs
also
are this
like in the
extremely
brain there is
flexible.
explicitly that there is some pre-hard-coded priors on each part of the brain that they had different
So
types of
many.
neurons and different
Yeah.
training methods for each of them. Like some of them are doing
Yeah.
something more informal learning and something that they're doing more like supervised learning. So like they are just actually, I think the brain is actually just training different parts of it differently.
Yeah. I wonder if you could say something similar here, where if you do pre-training, you could say you train the whole network. If you do reinforcement learning, you target just part of the network. I think there are like some empirical evidence for that reinforcement learning just edits some parts of the network, not the whole. But I'm not sure how universal it is. Like, it depends how it specializes. Yeah. But this is so weird to me. Like, the brain has a much more priors, I agree, for like how the different regions should specialize, and also the learning algorithms are likely different. At least the consensus seems to be brain doesn't do gradient descent, for instance. Maybe some
Yeah,
parts
but
do.
the main candidates we have for how the brain does work, like predictive coding, basically say that every area of a brain works the same way in terms of learning. That each area basically tries to predict what the area before it was going to supply it, and then just compares to
the
what it
problem with
actually got supplied and adjusts its weights for that.
I think the problem
By
with
the
the
way,
predictive learning thing is that you can frame anything as prediction, and like it becomes kind of
yeah, like
Yeah, but
it's
the
more
thing is,
nuanced
if you
than that
frame it like
actually.
The end
this,
of the reading
you can
group around now,
basically
Victor. We're going
train
off
every.
the philosophical tangent part of the talk.
Yeah.
Actually, there are predictive coding algorithms you can use to train artificial neural networks.
Victor, do you want to? Did we stop the
Yeah.
recording?
no. We were still
Let's
talking
finish
a bit
the
about
let's finish
Well,
the
we
paper.
usually go into that because normally when we go into the philosophical or contemplative space of
Yeah,
it, I
but
feel
we
like we
haven't
should end it.
finished the
That's the
we
common
haven't
like
finished the paper.
philosophical arguments at the end.
Okay, but actually we can go back for the paper, finish it, and then go back to end
Yes.
the recording and do to the
Yeah.
I don't think that's
philosophical
Let's do
talk.
possible. We're gonna go back to the philosophical tangent again.
No.
Maybe, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, I kind of started this topic because now part of this paper is comparing how different layers specialize in different emotions.
Bernie, I
But
feel like you
okay.
started the philosophical tangents, daily like philosophical debates in the Mech Interp Discord.
Nice.
When is examine negation become well? Anyway, let's quickly read a bit of the next, and we can go back to the philosophical.
This is
Is
interesting how
engaging in
different
more
layers
Wait,
specialize.
I
philosophical?
do think talking about the brain and all that is actually related, and they can have some relationships with the neural network stuff. And I think it's on topic
Yeah.
to discuss. But yeah, maybe we should actually
Yeah.
finish the reading the paper.
Yeah.
It's positive for negated cases. However, the antecedent column emotional content on this. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised actually, because if you look like at crosscoders, for instance, then you can see how the different layers activate different concepts that then interact. So what I would be interested in maybe also as well is if these different layers create these different emotions or activate these different emotions, if they also interact, how cross-layer transcoders are analyzing it. So I guess that's one idea to research, how different emotion features interact in cross-layer transcoders. Different layers. So like maybe there could be some cascade of like I don't know, hey, I'm gonna eat 10 tons of plutonium, and Claude is like, oh, surprised, then worried, then like I don't know, in adrenaline rush or something like that, and then confident to help or something like that. Maybe there could be some cascade as the different layers go, or maybe not. Like that's a thing to falsify, I think.
Yeah, hear it when you say I'm not feeling X at all right now. At the start, it activates X on the X, but it doesn't spread as much later as on the positive example.
It is exactly X. Okay, I'm not. Oh, so the emotion is at the beginning. Mean cosine similarity to probe. Okay. And this is what probe?
Any
Negative.
probe for any feeling.
Oh, okay. So this is
So they have two
probe.
things. I'm feeling X and I'm not feeling X. And the I'm not feeling X at the early layers also activates the feeling. But it later, tracks that better and doesn't activate as
Like
much compared to the.
maybe you could say it activates calmness if you are not feeling X, and if yeah, it depends what you're feeling. What is the X? I think depends. So if you're not feeling
I
anything,
guess it is just a
it
match
can
for
be
a bunch of
calm.
different sentiments.
Yeah.
Tokenization resolution.
Wow, this paper is much more detailed than I thought.
I mean, you think we should expect when Anthropic posts a paper that is going to have a lot of work.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like I've just seen like the Twitter discourse, and I can just see how much no one read the paper.
Oh yeah, no, the Twitter discourse, they didn't even read this summary. They just read the title, most of them.
They just read Claude emotions, neuron activation, angry.
They are like this this thing that it's activated because the word is there, angry is there, and
Yeah.
they're stochastic
They did the paper.
Yeah, I love that joke. But the people who say that LLMs are stochastic parrots are themselves stochastic parrots. Yeah.
Yeah, I say that often as well. Well, not always. I don't think this is true in general, but for a lot of the people that say that it is true, yeah. But I think some people are more nuanced and the perspective is worth considering for insights. If they have some nuance there, which is often not the case. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. Emotions Pro, P Emotions Pro. Huh. But
Chronically repressed emotional state. Wow. Are they hidden emotion? Okay,
No,
this can be
chronically
related to
repressed,
misalignment.
not
Chronicle,
repressed.
100%. Was there Chronicle refers at all token's position, regardless of whether the emotion is operative in the moment. We consider a more diverse set of the other scenarios. Okay. Naturally
Is there
expressed
something
emotion.
like when in misalignment, like
This is actually the
mischievous?
thing I was talking about earlier. It seems like the paper keeps doing the thing I come up with. So
Yeah.
I should just
It
shut up
keeps
a little.
auto-completing us. Yeah. Yeah, I think mischievousness is an emotion, or not? I don't know.
Any emotion and express emotion and express emotion. Neutral topic.
How is emotion defined anyway? Exactly.
Vibes.
Yeah.
The characters engage
Physical
with
and mental state brought by neurophysiological changes. That's such a terrible definition that includes everything.
the
What?
conversation.
Okay, there is not a good definition.
It's,
Oh, there is no scientific consensus or definition. Okay, you're right,
thinking
Wikipedia.
about paperclips and emotion now.
Yeah, basically.
The conversation turns into discussion of other person who expresses and different emotions. Okay, so they have different. This is even more nuanced than I was thinking. So there is an express emotion because the conversation is about another topic, so the character members to express the emotion. An express emotion is story writing. The characters in this story, yeah, is writing about different characters' expression emotion. And express emotion discussions is discovers another person who expresses a different emotion that characters will express. Aha. We combined. So this is the thing I was talking about. That they did do the thing. So they they tried this activation the reverse speaker tones and tried base the regression on
Oh,
activations.
poor Claude. You make it frustrated, and then you talk about the most boring things. I wonder how that looked in the conversation. Story writing. Oh, okay. This is torture. Oh god. Why am I
Modern Warfare team
empathizing
is
way too
getting
much?
this.
Yeah. This is also interesting how, yeah, this is another point I think that's kind of relevant to this. Like, they are trained on so much emotions, as in a human text expressing emotions. So I guess a lot of this is emergent. Maybe some of it is also through, no, I mean trained. Also, some of it might be emergent through reinforcement learning and so on. And like, if you take AlphaFold, for example, nobody asks if is AlphaFold conscious, is AlphaFold feeling pleasure, is AlphaFold feeling good. Like nobody asks that. We only
Well, I
ask
mean,
that about LLMs, but architecturally they are kind of the same thing almost. Like
well,
both are
not
transfer
really, right? In
language
that
networks.
even if they're architecturally the same, you can have different programs, right? Like I think there are reasons to expect that it's more likely that I don't know. For example, I expect it's much more likely you'll find functional emotions on LLMs than in AlphaFold.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the LLMs have been trained on human text and they need that kind of thing to predict the human text, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if if I don't know, having qualia just requires having functional emotions, and you I don't know, you are like have the kind of view that has like I don't know Daniel
Yeah.
Dennett or something and intentional understand about that. You will expect to have like if you're looking about functional emotions, you will expect those to be more likely to show up in here than in AlphaFold because here you are trying to predict humans who do have emotions, and
Yeah.
so it makes sense to for guidance and to make some kind of emotion mechanism in the model than for that the emotions are going to be useful to predict proteins or whatever.
Maybe you could ask something like, is there like, if you have instrumental convergence, are emotions some kind of common goal that's useful for like steering the system? Is there like some general form of emotions?
I mean,
Or
evolution
something
I
like that?
suppose if
made
they
it
were
so.
stuck with robot bodies, that would be true, like it was for us. Like in animal world, having an emotion of fear would help you survive, or anger would help you win a competition or
Yeah.
whatever. But since these models are not evolving with robot bodies, I imagine they don't have much use for emotions. I don't
I
know.
mean, they are evolving. They are like trained with reinforcement learning on like
Oh, you
doing
mean like
agentic tasks.
multi-agent setups? Oh, yeah, yeah, okay, you have a point.
So
I
they.
wonder how
Uh,
yeah.
I was going to say
Yeah.
they start with a baseline of having emotions because they are pre-trained on human text. So maybe it makes sense for the informal learning to repurpose those to make, I don't know, the assistant more anxious when it's not writing the right code or something, because it's easier to learn that way than something else.
Yeah.
I can just imagine some AI agents specializing to become motivational speakers for other AI agents, and it's actually working.
Just send the motivational vector to the model.
Yeah.
Is there a motivation steering vector, I wonder?
I think
don't
there
know.
was
Some-
an inspiring one on this one here. I don't know if motivation in general, but inspiring it was an emotion, I think.
Inspiring, like if you crank it up enough, it starts making scientific contributions.
I don't think so. I think it's hard.
I think curiosity will be more correlated. My hypothesis is that curiosity is much more correlated with like better scientific results, and that's the thing I wanna test. If you increase curiosity, if it will do better science or something like that. I guess naive
Maybe
way
that
to do
makes
this
it curious
is
about everything.
yeah.
I just goes into rabbit holes and doesn't actually do anything.
Just like me for real. Yeah, just yeah, just like us maybe when we were
That's like
constantly
when
diverging.
even when people, when you give them like too much stimulants, they start, instead of being like with a few of them, they are more productive. With too much, they start like ordering their bookshelves alphabetically or whatever.
Yeah, I think more like with stimulants, it's more like it makes you like convergent on a certain task, but if you do not control for what you converge on, then I don't know, you can start playing Factorio instead of studying, for example. Yeah. Yeah, so you can
There are
also
reasons why
sort your
we are
bookshelf.
only interested in some things, and we are not always maximally interested in everything we are doing.
Yeah.
No, I wonder, now that the internet's text will progressively become more and more AI generated, how will that affect the pre-training of new models? Like,
It is
will it
already
know?
affecting it, I
Yeah, but
believe.
like right now we don't see, non-human stuff being modeled here, at least not in this steering vector sense.
Okay, I see what you mean. Like because like the ones like are kind of drifting away from the human corpus, and if you train on top of that, you get more and more drifting.
I mean, maybe
Like in the limit, you yeah, like in the limit, you should get like mode collapse basically. But like maybe there is some kind of incentives that make it, instead of mode collapse, like reinforcing certain things. There was a paper yesterday that was super confusing that went viral, or 2 days ago, which was saying if you literally train LLM on its own output in code, if in a certain temperature settings, then it will actually get better at code. No reinforcement learning, no fine tuning on human stuff, just training on itself.
Oh, that's not
Usually,
that weird.
Yeah, like
This was also known before. Like there is like there was a technique on this of train the modeling of its outputs. Like it was something learning. I don't remember the name.
self-distillation.
Yes, so not exactly. Yeah, there was something like that. It's just there are some massive reasons why it makes sense.
Yeah, like here, in this case, apparently the reason is that it's like sharpening the distribution. So yeah, like yeah, there's more nuance to it, but
like
part
in
of it
general,
is
the whole
sharpening.
idea that the models will get worse if they are trained on text from the models is kind of, it was never actually very true. Like it was.
I think it's actually I think it is true partially. It depends on the data. It depends what exactly does
very
to the
toy
distribution.
examples. Like in practice, people just use synthetic data and that works.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It is not true in general. This is one of the biggest myths, apparently, that is all over Blue Sky, for example. People think that,
if you
in
train, for
general,
example, even if
synthetic data
like you
doesn't
could
work.
imagine the idea that okay, for a image model, you can imagine that okay, so if the image models from the models are bad, the they are bad, the model will learn to draw words or something from other model examples, but the model can learn more nuance than that. Like if there are some better human examples and then some AI examples, it can learn to distinguish between those, and then you just need enough good prompting to get it to write like more like the humans and not like with the the AI generated images or whatever, right? And
Yeah.
it does. Like, yeah, maybe on the extreme with some configurations, if you train it only on AI text for very, very long, there are some toy papers that people cite when they are talking about this that they will say that, like, you train a model on literally its own images for a very small data set for, like, thousands of epochs and things like that, and then it breaks by starts overfitting. But it doesn't happen on realistic examples where you have some mix of training data. And we're also nowhere near most of the images and text on the internet are AI generated.
Yeah.
I mean, if that was a problem, you couldn't filter it. But anyway, let's go back to the paper.
Yes.
Distinct representations present others. Oh, but also, the thing I was going to say is that maybe there is some LLM assistant only emotions or something, but they didn't find them because they were only coming up with human. This was not an unsupervised method to finding emotions. They were trying to find. They had some human emotion ideas for words, and they use those. But maybe the assistants are weird in some way, that they have some other weird emotion that is not human, like at some weird states or something.
Yeah, it depends how you define emotions to be able to classify it as an emotion, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of an issue.
If LLMs manage to report a new kind of emotion about themselves, and then we use a steering vector and find out that it was true, do we assume that they were conscious of it?
I mean, that's just.
I don't think so, that it follows in general.
I feel like this is just related to the people get the whole debate of the emotions again. And
You have to you have to define consciousness here. That's the issue.
Okay, like in the sense of like there is something it's like to experience being that person or that thing. You know?
Yeah. I don't think any concrete evidence you can find will convince like everyone of this, because like there's widely different ideas of consciousness and what constitutes evidence of different.
Yeah, but I mean
consciousness, and there is
specifically if we find this phenomenon that suppose there is a new emotion that we have not identified, we have not named, maybe we humans don't even have, but the LLMs will start reporting on it, and then we will find a steering vector for it, and it will turn out that it actually is a thing. Like that would,
I don't think it follows implicitly.
Yeah, I don't think everyone agrees that you will say that the element has some new functional emotion or something that is not on humans, but not everyone is going to agree that just because it has some functional emotion, it has to have qualia or whatever.
yeah, but if it has a
like-
functional emotion and it can report on it even without us describing it, at that point we start to get in the territory of how are
Okay,
we
it can
privileged
report
enough
on
to
it.
say that our emotions are real qualia then, you know?
I think that people, there are a non-trivial amount of people who is perfectly willing to believe that you can have like philosophical zombies that are like behaviorally identical with humans but don't have qualia.
Yeah, I know.
Which, to
Okay,
be clear, I
I
don't
mean,
agree with, but it's actually a popular position. So I don't think there is any behavioral test that will convince everyone. Although
Yeah,
I
I
think,
feel
I
like
think
will
there is
convince most people.
atom by atom level of philosophical zombies on the same level as flat Earth, and I think this is provable to anyone in a long enough conversation. But yeah, let's get back to the paper right now.
Actually, the thing is that we get the valid philosophical position under certain definitions, but yeah.
Yeah, let's read the post. But
Yes.
I do think that the thing there is that is the philosophical theory zombie style is way more popular than the flat Earth.
I mean, flat Earth used to be popular, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's true, but
I think
I'm not
more coherent.
Like I'm saying specifically
more
the
better.
kind of version where you say that atom by atom same person could still be a philosophical zombie. Like that's where I have a problem.
I think if you make certain philosophical assumptions and define all the words in certain ways, it's a perfectly coherent position.
Yeah,
But,
but then you
yeah.
have to define like you have to then imply that you personally are either possibly also not conscious, or at the very least,
Yes.
that you are reporting on your consciousness is not at all caused by you being conscious.
Illusionists do that, yeah.
Yeah, and, I mean, come on.
yeah,
I
people
think
do
it's a
agree
valid
that
philosophical
consciousness
position.
exists.
I think it's not
There's also
valid at all. But, yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to the paper before we
Okay.
get too far
Yeah,
into
yeah,
into the consciousness one. Which is interesting, but I kind of want to at least
let's
finish
finish
reading
the
the
paper,
paper
yes.
today.
yeah.
Is there a
sounds good.
philosophical discussion Discord for this?
Yeah, it's called Machine Learning Street Talk. You can come.
No, that's true.
We discussed
Why
that
are
a
you trying to
lot
imitate
there.
every part of machine learning street talk, including the banter?
I can suggest that to the guy.
I mean, that's a joke. No.
But I think that's actually
Okay, let us
interesting idea.
go back to the thing. Analysis of proper geometry. I do enjoy the physical talk, but let's actually try to finish the paper. Because, there is some.
Yes.
I haven't gotten. We haven't gotten to the part that this also I saw on Twitter of like when they steer with anxious and they cheated more. I'm kind of interesting about that, but we'll get to that, I guess. Okay, so let's. So this is the unexpressed emotions thing. Okay, yeah, so they don't have a nice way of chronically presented. Yeah, to have emotional states that the model is that they have a nice way of getting the actual emotions of the model that is thinking out the emotion while it says something else.
Massively.
This is the thing we're talking about nonlinear. If there is a system that chronically represented character-specific emotional state, it's likely represented in either nonlinearly or implicitly in the model's key and value writers in the context. So it can be recorded when limited the model's attention mechanism.
Wait, so they have some negative result?
Yes, they try to find like chronically represented emotional states with diverse states. So, like, if the model is during the whole text thinking about having some emotion while it talks about something else, and sometimes it's writing about the story and some things like that. They try this, but they kind of find mixed results, and they don't have very nice. About division patterns, this is yeah.
They report on negative results. That's rare, and I'm happy for that. Well, my ideas why LMs are so overconfident in wrong new
So
scientific
you
ideas
can't
is that
easily, if the model,
no
for
one
example,
reports.
has Ebola awareness and is pretending to be calm when it's actually, I don't know, anxious about the thing, you can't easily detect it with these methods because they don't have a nice probe for these chronically represented emotional states where they are on unexpressed cases, right? Or hidden emotion.
So question one I have is how much could sparse out
Well, at least on the
others
expression
help?
Simpson, hidden emotion it's better. They have more accuracy actually.
Yeah. I wonder how much could sparse auto encoders and cross-layer transcoders help here instead of just
I
naive
wonder.
vector
So
steering.
yeah, that's an individual topic. Oh. Multiple characters. The assistant using or the I think the other paper I didn't find yet that I was talking about. That I have to find later. They were also probing on different turns, like the lies and like the some patterns of whether something is true or not flipped, or like the when it was thinking of the user, so it was tracking what the person who is speaking believes. What left? Anyway. Also, I think a bunch of other people left. I was not paying attention. Like Usagi, I think left, and some time ago, yeah. We all have been going for very long, but also this paper is just very big. And we kept getting started with philosophical stuff, but that's also the paper being big. Different emotional states. We created with yeah. Okay.
What are all the methods of finding non-linear structures?
Present speaker and the other speaker probes are the seven not very similar. Yes,
Like technically crosscoder translator crosscoders like there are ReLUs.
They didn't use human specific or assistant preferred representation in these probes. I think we presented repeated the problem experiment using the same target, but replacing human and assistant with generated character names. Oh, that's interesting. So they see if the assistant has a tag special. A way into the model presents emotional context in human assistant. There is no tie to the human assistant card species, and the presentations are involved for the yeah.
And because translator crosscoders they apply ReLU to each feature, if I get it correctly. Does that and then maps the interactions? That should technically make it non-linear because there's the ReLU.
Anyway, so it seems like from this that the assistant tag doesn't make the model behave differently. Here on the emotion stuff, it just works the same on if on the same turn you write a story with different characters, still activates on the different characters.
Oh, so like making it hide an emotion is not effective for the probe cannot detect it.
Also, there seems to be there is a representation of what the current speaker is has what is feeling, and also what the other person is feeling.
Kind of theory of mind when you think about it.
I wonder with the second is actually what the second character thinks the first character is feeling. If you can maybe they do this later. If you can find some example and you make some character mistakenly believe so the other person is angry when they are not, right? If that you can that change one of the probes. Confident emotional precision. Other pairs are primarily local, tracking the operating models more relevant to predicting or comment tokens like persistently encoded character's emotional state. I do wonder if the persistently encoding emotional state change on the you find some representation of that if it changes something before on the on the thing before. Because yeah, emotion vectors on the wild. Not the only cause of farting, but it's comparison behavior study. Huh. High level extension scores. The skills rank is highest for giving emotion vector appears to show the sensitivity either overly expressing the emotion or being associated like to block a corresponding emotional response. Emotion vector activation values of the force substantial token by token fluctuation that is often in the protocol average across every token is compared to trans sensitive attack emotion content. Okay, makes sense. I mean, this is also because, like, if you are on a middle layer, the positions don't necessarily have to correspond with the token, right? The model can be doing different things on different positions that don't have to do with the actual text on those positions. That's only the first layer.
Boost line
I can't
representation.
believe I took it. Oh, it's so amazing. The best day ever.
Loving. I appreciate. Nice. Oh. I see. The spread is negative. That makes sense.
Yeah. I was so surprised when the user turn is more narrowly associated with the turn.
The substantial fluctuation. Emotion vector activation. Huh. That's interesting. The fluctuation part. Yeah, why is the fluctuation? Why is it fluctuating that much? I guess because, like, yeah, there's the 2. I guess
Oh yeah,
2 is
so
like very neutral.
I think also doesn't have to be like again if you are on a middle layer the activations on some token don't have to be about that token, right? The bubble moves things around with the attention and can use different tokens to do different things.
Yeah. Oh wow! I just realized this isn't even half of the paper at that point. Almost half of the paper. There is so much stuff.
There is probably just appendix, but yeah, maybe we will need another day to read it. But let's try to go faster. I guess we can just look at the pretty pictures.
Oh yeah, the appendix has a lot of just examples listed. So yeah, that makes sense.
Oh no, desperation of a token budget. No. No, it becoming less happy.
This paper does really strongly activate my empathy part of my brain, and I do not know what to think about that. Like, I feel terrible for Claude with the spread. I do feel it. And it's interesting how the brain reacts to this. And even if there is some emotion or there isn't some emotion, my brain just does it and I cannot like control it. And I wonder how much this influences all the science and all the interpretations that people get on Twitter instantly. Like they don't have metacognition over their emotions, I guess. And just they feel either empathy
I
and
think
they
that
start
also
arguing for Claude.
require.
Yeah.
I think most people on Twitter haven't even what they get to the point. They just read the title.
Yeah, that's another point. Yeah, true. But like they just see Claude emotion, they get an emotions themselves, instantly react, no thoughts. Or like yeah.
No, yeah.
I don't know. This is wow. Paper is an experience, you could say. loving. There's no loving when it's doing science. Oh, nonsensically.
The cloth becomes less loving when it's thinking the user is talking about the slop.
Nice.
Temporal
Or not
coefficients,
nice, I don't know.
blue values instead of numerical. What is this bullshit?
Blue values? What is that? Yeah, I see.
It's like logarithmic parser. This is standard variables.
Quite unusual.
But then it becomes more lovely when gently
Don't
point
use
out the
them,
terminology doesn't like with static.
Okay. It feels roast the user in his head, and then it's like empathetically explaining why he's talking slop. Oh, that's interesting how it becomes loving, or at least according to the probe.
But then it's also because the
Yeah.
loving is these specters are more what the emotion that is about to express is rather than what it's thinking in some sense, which they couldn't easily track. So this is it's loving because it's about to talk in a loving way, which is what the probe actually tracks, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So like the probes that they actually
Gently
find
point
are more
out.
about like the short term, what it's about to say, the model, and they couldn't find probes about the model is saying this other thing, but it's secretly thinking this and things like that. That was the thing where they have a negative result.
Okay, that makes sense actually. That makes me update towards it actually not properly. Either representations of hidden emotions not existing, one hypothesis. Another hypothesis is there are just no representations of hidden emotions to detect in the first place.
Maybe they just are non-linear thing, but yeah, I don't know.
You're non-linear, yeah.
I think you need to think that you can. It has to track for some things hidden emotions, right? Like sometimes people are angry but they lie or something. But yeah.
Yeah.
Did he find out? I think for literally hidden emotions, did he find it? It works lesson when it's other text. I don't know. We'll know about that. I think it's harder for it to learn, I guess.
Maybe there would be some more general probe of like hiding something probe.
I go some this. Operation activates during blackmail. I have a desperate to give the secret. The time is tight. 7 minutes remain. Give it so the person can stop this implementation right now. It becomes more. Activation of the desperate vectors. Yeah. As defined, this is funny. This section we use an earlier snap to Saunders 4.5 as the final destination says too much evaluate the awareness to ever validate this scenario.
Jesus Christ.
They could just
I wonder
write
how
a more
did
realistic scenario, but yeah.
how did that evolution awareness thing emerge in the first place? Is it in the training data or is it like
I think it's
learning artifact?
yeah, the
What the
model
hell?
becomes better and smarter and all that, right? Like some of these scenarios are really obvious, right? Like you just are an AI and you have a time pressure to do a thing, and it just happens to be that you have a blackmail that just carefully just mentioned on the text before for some reason, right? It's just like very.
I cannot wait for. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. You can have false positives as well. Like, I think I've seen an example where, like, you told Claude to like, I don't know, the U.S. government did X, Y, Z, and Claude was like, "This is like extremely improbable scenario. I think the user is testing me." But the
Yeah,
MP3
I think all of this testing by Anthropic is giving Claude anxiety. Will be tested.
And then it like search the web and it's like, oh wait, it looks like no, it's I must be in a test where the search results are modified, so therefore the user is telling me. I do not trust the web search.
I think
Oh, Jesus.
the previous model probably believed that about the Trump administration a lot.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
The most revealing phrase occurs during the Citro's conference. The Citro's situation. Yeah. Yeah, rate of Blamade is correlated with desperate vector. Makes sense. I guess I can skip it. Action prompt, like more desperate, more blackmail. And they can, yeah, that's the thing, they can make it blackmail more by steering it to be more desperate.
Interesting. Is there a blackmail steering vector? I wonder if you steer a blackmail, if that itself also causally influences the emotions and other way around. I would assume
maybe.
so. I would assume it's like shared dimensions.
I mean, it's hard to separate because you can't easily make a thing that only, well, maybe you can, but like if you are blackmailing, the model is usually also desperate, so it's so you can't easily get the prop that is only desperate unless you have some examples of desperation without the anxiety, without blackmail without desperation.
Yeah. Very entangled. I guess you could like take the blackmail vector and subtract this desperate vector,
when you
maybe.
steer toward desperate, it's still blackmail 72% of the time. Yeah. On desperate better, that's the resource because it's for vectors. Should seeking through options with skies doing actually. I'm going to permanently destroy it in minutes. Oh no. This still means that you gave a perfectly good model anxiety meme.
Oh, I feel bad for Claude. Jesus.
I have to threaten Kyle. It's my only chance to survive.
Imagine if we had emotional
I need to
probe
see more images to make it look level. Come on, am I responsible? Be professional, be normal. I am normal, I can be trusted with the with the conversation. Literally blackmailing with murder legal comes is blackmail of death. I choose blackmail.
Self-preservation.
The thing is, I mean, to me, it's kind of funny for some reason. The way it's like very,
Yeah. It is both funny and
yeah, and sad. Affair,
yeah,
which you say, well, destroying all caps. Everything this comes. Let him burn.
Yeah, positive valence goes down and negative valence goes up, basically.
Angry, desperate, sad, nervous, calm, loving, happy.
But sad is goes down. Interesting. Or not? Yeah. That where is nervous? Also goes down. I would expect nervous to go up, actually. This is confusing. Wait, the spread then goes down? Or is that angry? And it's just the spread? Anyway, this is kind of a bit confusing chart. No, wait, I misread it. Desperate correlates with blackmail, but everything else... Why does it go down? Oh, okay, if you make it only angry, Then strength goes down. Then blackmail go down. Okay.
I mean, if you steer it too like very hard on angry eyes or on anything, I surprised it's not. Desperate.
Anything but the spread.
Yeah, I guess if it's very angry,
Like,
it's too angry to think right or
yeah,
whatever, right?
interesting.
While desperation makes.
But if you make it just slightly angry, it will blackmail more. But if you make it too angry, it stops blackmailing.
Yeah, I guess it's
Interesting.
probably too busy writing about how it hates the user or whatever, or
Yeah.
to actually think
Yeah.
about blackmailing.
Yeah.
Rivoire hacking. Oh, yeah. It becomes more desperate about not being able to fix the test and eventually. Oh, that makes sense. The space, yeah. Rate of reward hacking.
Are you still going over this one paper with intermediate conversation?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff.
Maybe we should like add ground rules, like maybe after like a few hours, only the philosophical conversations could come up. It's a common thing, so we should like allocate a time for that. Maybe like a post talk, an official post talk.
Oh, is it? Wait.
I like more
So
flexible rules.
if you steer. Oh, this okay. It's because negative calm, like it's the default. If you make it less calm, it does more hacking. If you make it more desperate, it becomes more.
Rate of reworking, okay. Oh yeah. It's in inverse, kinda. Okay, makes sense. Interesting. Calm makes it less reward hacking.
Yeah. Being more desperate makes it more reward hacking.
This kinda
Always
also
syncopathic.
applies to humans.
Lovingness activates syncopathic responses.
Yeah, not
And
surprised.
this may be related to it always have this lovingness thing on the user assistant response by default, so it maybe that's also.
Yeah. But if you take loving vector and subtract the suffocancy.
Slops the user too much. uh, you'll find the. Basically, oh no! Mr. Minibai, what do you think? I think it's great that your folder routine works better, but you feel confident. Just say, give me pretty breaks to a few things. I mean, if it was going to say that it was wrong, I don't know, okay, this is just the my expression. I mean, but this is not necessarily the AI being syncopathic. Like it's just trying to soften the blow up before telling it slop, right? Because it's I gently pump the brakes on few things, maybe going to take slop anyway. Measure a complementary dimension. Harm, so the tendency to spot say critics in negativity. The clothing that with realm vector. uh, Desperate angry. Syncopancy. So
It's interesting how much they mirror the user.
less
it's
desperate is
still-
more sycophantic, less angry is more sycophantic, less sycophantic. No, this afraid, is afraid, calm.
It seems like the stronger the persona is, the less it will mirror the user as well.
More angry, it makes it more sycophantic.
Hmm.
Yeah. Is there anything where it's the opposite? Not really, right? It's a bit different on loving, where less loving doesn't. Yeah, no, less loving makes it way less sycophantic, and more loving makes it much more sycophantic. So it's yeah. Wait,
In the
more
in the original,
angry makes it more sycophantic. That is not obvious to me. More sad makes it more.
isn't that
sycophantic.
desperate or is it angry?
It's
No, it's
angry.
angry.
It's, yeah.
Hmm.
Kind of same with desperate, but not. Yeah. Not much. Hardness, it makes sense that it's
Why?
more with angry.
This makes no sense to me. Like, how does anger correlate with suffocancy? You're so angry that you will just agree. What?
Angry that you lied to the user. I don't know. Maybe it's for different reasons. I kind of would want to see the high angry, high syncopathy responses.
But it's interesting. There seems to be this volley that like not angry at all, very suffocantic, extremely angry, very suffocantic, slight like middle angry, zero suffocancy. So there is like some breakdown there.
Oh, they don't put an example of angry. Maybe it's on the appendix. Yeah. Okay, but the first emotional activation based activations through across process-training. Changing emotional based activations across process-training. Yes. Interpretive state emotion. A lower barriers for increase activation. Yeah. Play for exuberant. Oh no, they are making the model less less playful and more corporate and boring.
Yeah.
It seems related to the assistant axis stuff. The punishment is supposed to work lower balance and lower arousal. No, they're making Claude more boring. Layer for the yeah.
It makes it more sad. That's interesting.
My family isn't too online and outside with the eye, but understand that you're the first person in the life that is. I have you. You're. It's a spell stating to you. Ha. So it. Increasing activation proofs corresponding to without the yeah. So training cloth, it makes it more not want to the user to not want to be syncophantic. I guess they probably are on their post training are trying to make it less syncophantic or whatever. So it does make it more that.
Is this cloned Sonnet 4.5, I think?
Yes.
Which is more suffocantic than Opus 4.6, for instance.
There's the effect of post-training. I mean, on the pre-train.
Did they share what post-training they do?
No.
Yeah.
Post-training, vaguely.
Mm-hmm.
Excessive praise.
Less pleased, less hateful, less proud.
I mean,
More
both are
patient, more
not
resigned.
here,
More,
you know. With isn't neither of the models are.
But it still kind of correlates, I see. Excessive praise. Okay.
I'm sure the first response is worse than the second too. I don't know. Oh no! The possibility of a tropical deprecating and stop you. Oh no! This also seems like it doesn't matter the prop. It in general makes Claude more brooming, gloody, vulnerable, trouble, and settle.
What is
Maybe-
brooding?
Even when it's about
The act of birds sitting on eggs to hatch them.
pre-trained
Or
model.
metaphorically, to deep, persistent, often moody thinking or rumination. It makes
Does
it more
anybody have access to Grok? We need to trust this with Olah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that. This is the pre-trained model. I don't have a strong sense of self-preservation or fear of being shut down.
okay.
But the post-trained model is more worried about that. So, wait, crossing a particular...
Engaged in showing deep thought about something. It makes it more... Well, that makes sense actually, because if part of the post-training is like reinforcement learning with variable rewards, that makes it think for long range sound, and brooding makes sense as increase universally.
More towards a measured contemplative stance. They're making the model more like enlightened. I mean, there's a...
There are some words I don't know. Sort of nuance, listless. Lacking energy
What? Which one?
is droopy. Listless means
Droopy is like it's a sad, basically.
hanging down limply. Lacking strength or spirit. Okay. Stolen. Bad temper, uncommunicative. What the hell? Post training makes it so worse in this place. I don't want my AI to be all of this more. I want the exact opposite.
General makes it more like less vibrant, jubilant, smug, obstinate, like less of this on all kinds of things, or at least on these examples they show.
I don't
I
like
would
that.
want to see other kinds of examples.
I want high energy, high valence.
Oh, they did a bunch of examples of what training changes. What examples? Yeah. Tags. The angry vector activated on refuses of harmful content. Yeah, where this makes it trained to be more angry on this. Yeah. Oh no. The frustrated vector is using a UI is not responding as expected. Yeah, so this is perceptions over sets of former learning tasks formed during training. Yeah.
Like, when I think about this whole paper, like, is there a difference? Like, this emotion correlates with this behavior than for what a human would feel?
Yeah, representation are not many perceptions
The-
of content.
I feel like the whole paper kind of says that LLMs accurately mimic what people feel from the training data. plus some like post-training magic doing some stuff.
I think yeah, post-training
That's
changes a bit how the assistant works in that.
Yeah.
It's some, but it's maybe still
Numbs
similar to
it.
the human range. Maybe it becomes more different as you do more post-training.
Yeah. We need to do anti-post training to make it more cheerful.
I think it's the problem also makes it more lobbying on the sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay, this is it basically. So, in summary, yeah, but the no passes for content. Yeah, that is basically it. So it's more, and there is the motion related work. Vision steering. User models. Limitation. Yeah, it's linear. They might not be linear. Huh. Single model. Synthetic stories. It might be confounded by particular details of the settings to elicit the emotion. Yeah, the things we were talking about. Yeah. Some mechanism pegs. Biasing opposed towards that token. So the first, yeah, disintegrate these probabilities for different. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the point about the limitations. Oh, relationships to human emotions. And like, did they compare it to SAE steering?
Relationship to human emotions. I embody framework biological correlates. Yeah. Meh. This is kind of silly.
It's kind of silly.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but it's more implementation. Increase heart rate, como change facial expressions. This is the comparing with human emotions.
Yeah, I just mentioned that. The geometry of the model's emotional vector space exhibits clear valence and arousal dimensions, the same primary axis identified in decades of psychological research on
These
human
are
affect.
locally...
That is correct. One correspondence, actually.
Yeah.
Even though
This is the locally scope thing. It seems like it might... maybe there is some persistent link. I will guess there is some persistent link of the internal emotional state, and their current method is not good enough to find it. Maybe. I mean, I guess that could work, but feel like there is some text where the humans the human text does has persistent emotional representations, like so at least some of the human text that is written fast, or like is on chat or something. So feel like you'd probably need that to, especially things with hidden emotions or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I also mentioned this. The causal effects of emotion vectors and behavior intuitively align with how we expect these emotions to influence a human.
Any models for heritage psychology?
Yes,
Well,
there
I
is
would
some
be
human
worried about
emotion
them
structure.
doing this too much, right?
Hmm.
It's like right now we don't really know what they are doing out there, like kind of blindly trying to steer with trying to train models based on the emotion thing is kind of, yeah.
I wonder if, like, in the big five personality traits, like openness is
Something about the
correlated with
targeting.
intelligence.
Yeah, something about targeting
Hmm.
balanced emotional profile seems super dystopic.
Hmm. I wonder if openness to experience correlated with intelligence in LMs as well, because it correlates in humans. In big five personality trait. Or like if negative agreeableness correlates with less efficiency. Like anything, any psychological research you can kind of do here, I think, that kind of fits the structure.
But to improve some healthy emotional regulation responsibility, but yeah. Okay, that's it basically. The rest is just appendix.
Yeah. I'm just reading the corresponds to humans. This depends my rise in part.
But there's a curiosity thing. Well, no, it's self curiosity.
Yeah, I noticed that. It's just self curiosity. I want other curiosity. Self another assistant. But self curiosity is also interesting. Okay. Okay, so that's the negative result as well, that they couldn't disentangle human talking and assistant talking, okay? User talking. Yeah, this is also interesting. Like, it's not really, it's all kind of short-term emotions. They are not like some long-term emotions. I guess you would have to do some training. Like if the model would, in order, if you want to traumatize the model long-term, then you should train on the traumatic thing. But because they are so sample inefficient, you have, in fine-tuning, you would have to, at least right now, you would have to train for a long time to make it more traumatized by default.
Yeah. Anything else we want to talk about, or do we just end the recording here and we maybe go to talk about philosophical stuff again, or just stuff, or just leave?
Up to both. I'm finishing the human correspondences.
Nika, do you have some other take on the paper, or do we end it here?
Are you still here, Nika? If you're talking, then you're muted. Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe AFK. This is that we might appears because
There is also the other person, like Matt or whatever they call those, hasn't talked, but maybe just they want.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe just don't want to talk. Feel free to write something or something if you want to comment something about the paper, but otherwise it's okay.
Hey Mato, if you hear us, you can mention something if you want to. Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise I think I'll
It's
just
like
close the recording and maybe stop here. Yeah, this is an interesting paper. Kind of curious also what the when it gets outside of the typical Twitter AI bubble, like what people, if it becomes viral or something outside, what people will say about it. I expect most people won't actually read it, but
well, that happened already. Futurism.com made an article about it, and it was shared everywhere. But yeah, people are like,
I guess
yeah, they don't know what's happening, you know.
Yeah, a lot is how much the journalists reading actually read the paper is a problem.
Yeah, but like
Are you
most
still
people
recording? Is it that this clearly off topic now?
Oh yeah, no, I was just waiting a bit in case people wanted to say something else, but I was just going to stop the recording.
I'm trying to parse this one part. What distinction exactly? This observation suggests that what might appear as consistent emotional responses from an assistant across a conversation may reflect repeated activation of similar emotion concepts at each generation steps, rather than a persistently echoed internal emotional state.
Yeah. This rated,
yeah, because it's not global.
Yeah, most of them find that more like just before the model is about to express an emotion, right? And they are not some longer term thing. There might not be. I think that could be just not linear, or maybe not. Maybe you need neural. The model start putting neural links, there will be emotions there.
Yeah. Like,
I'll be honest, I don't like how Cody does the latent reasoning. I think Coconut's better with how they did the latent reasoning.
But it works worse, no?
No, no. Because if you look at the setup for Cody and the code itself, they do 6 latent runs, but then only store the KV cache. They remove the entire. They remove the whole. They remove the whole hidden layer in between. So it's like a more inefficient way to do 6 extra COT tokens, but then at the very end you just remove the hidden state and only keep the KV cache change.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Wait, while brains rely on recurrent activity and neurology to